This is too precious. I can't accept this. Min Gran carefully placed the card back, waving her hand. She had just heard Bai Tsong say it wasn't anything of value. Was this not valuable? Bai Tsong pushed the gift in front of Min Gran, saying, Sister Ran, just accept it. It's a small token of my appreciation. After learning about Min Gran's birthday, he had started thinking about what gift to give. After consulting his father immediately had this card made and told him to give it. With this card, to say nothing else, at least one wouldn't have to worry about food, drink, entertainment, clothing, or accommodation. Its value was indeed quite high. You could use it as you pleased, but each use was like owing a small favor. You didn't need to repay it, and they weren't afraid of you misusing it. You could spend lavishly, but could you really use it with a clear conscience? When they truly needed to call on that favor in the future, wouldn't it be difficult? To everyone else present, a birthday gift was a beautiful blessing, meant to please Min Gran. But for Bai Tsong, this was all about connections and social currency. The more he gave, the greater the favor he bestowed. Any loss was worth it. Even if she didn't use it, that was fine too. As long as she accepted it, the gift matter was settled, the sentiment was conveyed, and his family hadn't really lost anything. Min Gran turned to look at Zhou Heng, asking for his opinion. Zhou Heng was also a bit hesitant. Clearly, he already understood Bai Tsong's intentions. If his family didn't have such great capabilities, this card was absolutely unacceptable, as the debt incurred would be impossible to repay. But his family at least had Zhou Juanyao's Juanheng and Lu Wei's Tianheng. They were qualified to accept this card and qualified to use it. Zhou Heng didn't know Bai Tsong's father's identity, only that Bai Tsong's family was also very powerful. Not accepting this gift would be a loss of face, offending the other party, which was not a wise move. So, both emotionally and rationally, they had to accept it. Accept it. After a while, Zhou Heng slowly spoke in a low voice. Min Gran listened to Zhou Heng and accepted the card Bai Tsong offered, saying, Then, thank you. This gift, I'll be careful with it. She didn't know what else to say. This gift was a bit too precious, feeling like using it would lead to trouble. The most surprised person here was Jingyu. She wasn't very familiar with the others, and this was her first time meeting Bai Tsong. She hadn't expected his family to be so wealthy. Although Dongzhi University had many children from rich families, someone like Bai Tsong was probably among the top few, right? Jingyu closed her agape mouth and asked Yu Lingxue beside her, What does his father do to be so rich? Yu Lingxue casually replied, Oh, his father is Vice President Bai of Juanan. A flash of surprise crossed Jingyu's eyes, her mouth forming an O shape as she exclaimed, Vice President of Juanan? No wonder. That's really impressive. Ahem. Yu Lingxue was slightly taken aback, nodded, and said nothing more. Her father was too, and the fathers of the two opposite them were chairmen. The rest were either younger sisters or older sisters, all close relatives. Most of the gifts had been given. Only Tang Ji's gift remained. Everyone's gaze focused on Tang Ji, wanting to see what this huge gift of hers was. Tang Ji slowly stood up, placed the gift at Min Gran's feet, and under everyone's puzzled gazes, Tang Ji said, Happy birthday. I think you guys will like this gift. U.S. Min Gran glanced back at Zhou Heng, both their eyes filled with confusion. Min Gran reached out, wanting to see what the gift was. Such a big box, it must contain a lot of things. But just as Min Gran was about to touch the gift box, Tang Ji suddenly grabbed her wrist, stopping her from opening it. Wait, don't open it here. Open it after you get back. Tang Ji shook her head, speaking seriously to Min Gran, which made Min Gran pause for a beat. Okay, all right. Although Min Gran didn't know why, she obediently listened to Tang Ji and didn't open it. Although the others were very curious. Since Min Gran wasn't unwrapping the gift, they certainly couldn't either, so they could only hide their curiosity in their hearts. Dinner was very enjoyable. Zhou Heng, Min Gran, and the others drank a lot and had a great time. It wasn't until after 10 o'clock at night that everyone went back. Zhou Heng, carrying the gifts from his friends, returned to their room with Min Gran. As soon as Zhou Heng entered the room, he put everything down and then collapsed onto the sofa. He was really tired today. Having played all day, his feet ached terribly. He really admired how Min Gran could still walk, looking not tired at all. After Min Gran entered the room, she was still looking at the gifts from her friends, liking them more and more as she looked, and took out her phone to take several pictures. What exactly did Tang Ji give? At this moment, Zhou Heng remembered that Tang Ji's gift hadn't been unwrapped. He felt it was quite heavy when he brought it back and didn't know what was inside. Oh right, she said to open it when we got back. Min Gran also remembered, so she carried the large gift box, placed it on the table, ready to open it. Zhou Heng also stood up, craning his neck to look extremely curious. Rip! As Min Gran tore open the gift box, the contents came into view for both of them. The two were instantly astonished, their expressions changing, mouths agape. What is she? What does this mean? Did she rob an adult toy store or what? This is a pleasure pack. The two looked inside the gift box, which was filled with a wide variety of items to spice up a couple's relationship. There were over a dozen sets of lingerie alone, not to mention the toys. This girl. Really? Zhou Heng sighed helplessly and sat down on the sofa. He didn't seem particularly surprised by this gift. He knew Tang Ji always managed to do something special in unexpected ways. By the way, wifey, where should we go for our first anniversary? Zhou Heng looked at Min Gran and asked softly. He had just celebrated Ran's birthday, and in a little over 10 days, they would have their one-year anniversary together. Min Gran slowly closed the lid of the gift box, sat on the bed, pursed her lips, and remained silent for a long time. Soon, a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. She reached out, patted the gift box, and whispered, "How about we find a place and try these out? It's gotten cold so quickly. I heard it's going to snow today." Yeah. After class, Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue prepared to go back to their dorm together. In the blink of an eye, it was the end of the year, and university life had been going on for about 3 months. However, in these 3 months, the number of times they had seen Zhou Heng and Min Gran could be counted on one hand. Here, thanks. Yu Lingxue bought 2 hot coffees and handed one to Tang Ji. They were already wearing padded jackets and scarves, looking very cold, with visible breath when they spoke. Are Zhou Heng and Min Gran doing okay? It's been almost a month since we last saw them. The last time was probably during the holidays. There's nothing to be done. They're under too much pressure. They hardly have any time. They probably fall asleep as soon as they hit the bed after going back at night. Yu Lingxue and Tang Ji sat on a bench outside, drinking hot coffee, planning to go back a bit later. After all, if they went back now, it would only be the two of them. Jingyu had temporarily left for work a week ago, and it was unknown when she would return. In a little over a month, it'll be New Year's. Time flies so fast. Tang Ji looked at the bare trees in front of her, sighing as she recalled how Zhou Heng and Min Gran had spent New Year's at her place last time. In a blink, another year had passed. Yeah, we've known each other for almost a year now, too. Yu Lingxue remembered transferring to Zhou Heng's class right after the new year, when school started. How do you plan to spend New Year's? Definitely at my mom's place. Anyway, my dad's side doesn't need me. Is that so? I'll definitely go home too, but Zhou Heng and Min Gran might not. Last year, they spent New Year's at my place, but it's uncertain what will happen this year. Tang Ji stood up, tightened her clothes, and exhaled a cold breath, her cheeks and the tip of her nose slightly red from the cold. Just then, she suddenly thought of something, turned to Yu Lingxue, and asked softly, "Anyway, there's no point going back now. Want to go for a drink? Just the two of us." "Sure." Yu Lingxue readily agreed, stood up, and prepared to go with Tang Ji. Just as the two were about to leave, a voice suddenly came from behind them. "Can you take me along?" Hearing this voice, Tang Ji instantly frowned, her expression immediately turning sour. Yu Lingxue turned around, saw the person behind them, and didn't seem surprised at all, pouting as she muttered, this guy again." Su Pengyi stood behind the two, wearing a relatively thin jacket, hands in his pockets, head raised, staring intently at Tang Ji. Tang Ji turned around, her reluctance extremely obvious, not hiding it at all. But in fact, Su Pengyi was already used to it. He had pursued Tang Ji countless times in these 3 months, sending flowers, food, showing concern, writing love letters, confessing his feelings. He had tried everything many times over, but Tang Ji hadn't wavered in the slightest, always rejecting him very firmly. This made Su Pengyi wonder if he really wasn't good enough, completely unqualified to pursue Tang Ji. Before today, he hadn't pestered Tang Ji for a week, using that week to think things through. Finally, he decided to come today and settle things. He could take 99 steps, but if the other person wasn't willing to take even one, then there was no need to take the last step. It was time to turn back, to cut his losses in time. After all, relationships were only meaningful if they were a two-way street. Su Pengyi slowly walked forward, came in front of Tang Ji, and said softly, "Don't worry, I'm not here to confess. I'm here to issue a challenge." What challenge? Tang Ji took a step back, looking at Su Pengyi warily, wondering what kind of trouble he was planning to stir up this time. Su Pengyi turned to look into the distance and said, "A game, a 1v1 solo match. If you win, I'll never bother you again. I can even disappear from your world." Upon hearing this, both Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue raised their eyebrows in surprise, not expecting Su Pingyi to pull such a move. Really? What if you win? If I win, you'll be my girlfriend for 1 week. After a week, you can choose to break up, and I absolutely won't try to keep you. Whoa, playing for such high stakes. Yu Lingxue exclaimed from the side, her eyes, however, filled with the excitement of watching a good show. This bet was really something to see. If Tang Ji really lost, would she really have to be Su Pingyi's girlfriend? Just thinking about it was exciting. However, Tang Ji probably wouldn't agree to such an outrageous request, right? Su Pingyi's fists were clenched tightly, trembling slightly, very nervous. To be honest, he had no confidence that Tang Ji would agree. He had been rejected by Tang Ji so many times. If she truly wasn't willing to give him any chance, she could just reject this request. The atmosphere became a bit awkward for a moment. The few people present were silent for a long time before Tang Ji slowly spoke. All right, let's go. Internet cafe, one match, right? Saying this, Tang Ji turned around, waved her hand, and started walking forward. Su Pingyi was truly stunned for a moment, his eyes wide, and then a look of joyful surprise appeared on his face. Really? You agreed? He hurriedly followed, asking somewhat incredulously. This meant that Tang Ji was still willing to give him a chance, right? Otherwise, she would have just refused, wouldn't she? He was overjoyed at this moment. If Tang Ji had directly refused, there would have been absolutely no chance. But Tang Ji was willing to accept this challenge, which meant she was still willing to take this risk. He still had a chance. Yeah, since you've issued a challenge, how could I not accept? Yu Lingxue also followed, whispering in Tang Ji's ear. No way? You really agreed? This bet is quite serious. What if you lose? Although she was also curious to see what Tang Ji would be like in a relationship, dating someone you don't like must be agonizing. Tang Ji would definitely keep her word, that was certain. If she lost, she would really have to date Su Pingyi for a week. Tang Ji glanced at her and said coolly, would you casually accept a challenge you're not confident about? This. Yu Lingxue was speechless for a moment. Indeed, compared to the rare event of Tang Ji being in a relationship, an even rarer event was Tang Ji losing. At least in her memory, Tang Ji seemed to have never lost. All right, you're truly something else. The three of them arrived at an internet cafe near the school, got a small private room for three. Yu Lingxue sat between them, separating them to prevent any screen peeking. Were the conditions, go ahead. Tang Ji started the game, placed her headset on the desk, and turned the volume to maximum. No conditions, anything goes. The outcome will be determined by the final win or loss. Okay, the two logged into the game, started a 1v1 match, and entered the hero selection screen. Su Pingyi frowned, beginning to ponder. He had never played this game with Tang Ji, but he figured Tang Ji must be very good. He started to speculate which hero Tang Ji would choose, hoping to pick a hero that countered her to increase his chances of winning. Let me think. Tang Ji will definitely go all out. Given her personality, she'll definitely choose some rather strong heroes. Su Pingyi sat there, analyzing step by step, from Tang Ji's personality to her psychology, wishing he could completely figure her out. Only in the last few seconds of the countdown did the two lock in their heroes. Nice! Seeing the hero Tang Ji selected, Su Pingyi couldn't help but raise his arms in cheer. TSK. Tang Ji, however, frowned slightly and clicked her tongue. Yu Lingxue didn't know what was wrong. The game hadn't even started, yet their attitudes were completely opposite. Su Pingyi was ecstatic. He had actually predicted correctly, guessing which hero Tang Ji would likely pick. And he himself had chosen a hero that completely countered hers. The game hadn't even begun, and he already had a huge advantage. After entering the game, both bought their starting items and went to their lanes. Su Pingyi observed Tang Ji's items and snorted. Indeed, Tang Ji had chosen to be more conservative, buying tankier items. Yu Lingxue watched intently from the side. Though she couldn't understand much, she could feel that both were highly focused. Especially Su Pingyi, it felt like cold sweat was about to drip from him. The two frantically tested each other, but neither dared to initiate an attack. Even a small mistake would be infinitely amplified, leading to an absolute disadvantage. 5 minutes passed, and the two were still probing, showing no intention of making a move, both waiting for the other to make a mistake. Finally, at the 8-minute mark, Tang Ji made a slight positioning error, which Su Pingyi immediately seized. Yu Lingxue, watching from the side, tensed up and grabbed the armrest of her chair when she saw this. First blood. TSK. Tang Ji's screen turned black and white. she had been solo killed. Yu Lingshue's face turned a bit pale. She hadn't expected Tang Ji to actually get killed. She couldn't believe it. Tang Ji didn't find it surprising. Hero counters were really hard to deal with. She was bound to be suppressed in the early game. It was already quite good that she had lasted this long. What do we do? Yu Lingxue gently shook Tang Ji's arm, asking worriedly. Tang Ji's expression remained unchanged. She shook her head and said, "It's fine. It's not like we're playing for first blood. The outcome isn't certain yet." She didn't seem worried at all, waiting to respawn. Su Pingyi didn't let his guard down either. While Tang Ji was dead, he quickly expanded his advantage to solidify his lead. Tang Ji returned to the lane and continued to face Su Pingyi. This time, she was even more careful, not giving Su Pingyi any opportunities and focused on farming safely. They were playing on a 5v5 map, so whenever Tang Ji had a chance, she would go to other lanes to push, forcing Su Pingyi to defend and chase after her. This tempo is wrong. Su Pingyi sensed something was off. Although he had killed Tang Ji once, 3 of his own towers were gone, while he hadn't taken down a single one of hers. Because he had said no rules, anything goes, they weren't just sticking to one lane. Tang Ji kept shifting positions, and Su Pingyi had no choice but to follow her around, passively defending. So, while it seemed Su Pingyi had the advantage, the tempo was completely controlled by Tang Ji. "Why don't you kill him?" Yu Lingxue asked, seeing Tang Ji turn and run whenever she encountered Su Pingyi, showing no intention to fight. "What's the point? It's a tower-pushing game. Winning is all that matters, right?" Tang Ji shrugged, unconcerned. She wasn't greedy at all, so Su Pingyi couldn't find any opportunities. The items Tang Ji bought were all for pushing towers or for survival, incredibly stable. Half an hour passed, and the game entered its final stages. Tang Ji had destroyed all the towers and controlled the minion waves well. Finally, she pushed in with a large wave of minions from all 3 lanes. Although Su Pingyi's hero countered Tang Ji's, its weakness was poor wave-clearing ability, and Tang Ji had perfectly exploited this. In the end, Su Pingyi chose to give up defending and went all in, attacking. He wanted to race Tang Ji to see who could destroy the enemy base first. "What are you thinking? How could you possibly be faster than me?" Tang Ji sneered, her hands leaving the keyboard. The large wave of minions instantly destroyed Su Pingyi's base. Game over. Tang Ji won the match with a score of 0-1-0. Su Pingyi sat there, leaning back in his chair, his eyes completely lifeless. He hadn't expected to actually lose. Although his skills were comparable to Tang Ji's, his game understanding didn't seem as strong as hers. Yay! Yu Lingxue clapped for Tang Ji from the side, celebrating her victory. Tang Ji, however, put on her jacket, turned off the computer, stood up, and said, "All right, I hope you keep your word. We're leaving." Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue left the internet cafe, preparing to depart. "Wait a minute." Su Pingyi immediately chased after them, calling them to stop. Tang Ji stopped, turned around, and frowned at him. "What? Is there anything else?" "Not convinced." "No, I'm convinced. I just want to ask one last thing. Do you really not want to be with me at all, right?" Su Pingyi's tone was grave, his heart like dead ashes, wanting to get a cruel, truthful answer. Tang Ji was silent for a moment, sighed, and said, "It's not just you. I won't be with anyone. I don't do relationships." Su Pingyi frowned in extreme distress, took a step forward, and questioned loudly, "Why? Then you don't plan to get married and have children in the future? Who will accompany you in life then? When you're old, who'll take care of you?" He really couldn't understand why Tang Ji didn't want to be in a relationship. She had never even been in one. Why didn't she want to try even once? Tang Ji spread her hands and said calmly, "I just don't want to. A relationship means being constrained, having to give the other person a sense of security, being obedient, being sensible, living a quiet and stable life, dealing with daily chores like cooking and laundry." Tang Ji paused, then took out a lollipop from her pocket, unwrapped it, popped it in her mouth, pointed to herself with her thumb, and said, "And me, even if I have white hair and am covered in wrinkles, I'll be fully geared up, climbing the highest mountain to enjoy freedom. I'll be gaming to my heart's content in the dead of night. I'll be playing ball with all my might on the liveliest courts. That's me." Su Pingyi looked at Tang Ji, listening to her words, and fell silent. At first, he was skeptical, then puzzled, and now he somewhat admired Tang Ji. People who could achieve this level were not ordinary. Tang Ji's unwavering determination was truly admirable to him. I understand. I really admire you. I truly wish I could be like you." Su Pingyi looked up at the sky and said softly. He had now completely given up on Tang Ji. With her attitude, It was impossible to change her, no matter who it was or what they did. Tang Ji walked over, patted Su Pingyi's shoulder, and said, "Everyone has their own way of living. Just be happy yourself." After saying that, she turned around and gestured for Yu Lingxue to leave with her. Su Pingyi watched Tang Ji's retreating figure, replaying her words in his mind. "All right." Su Pingyi collected his thoughts, took a deep breath, then forced a smile before leaving. He could accept reality, but he needed time to process it properly. At this moment, the campus top 10 singers competition was being held at the school, and the venue was very lively, the atmosphere already warmed up by the previous contestants. Next up is contestant Qin Kuan from class 23-6, performing "I Truly Fell in Love with You." Let's welcome him with applause. Amidst enthusiastic applause and cheers, a boy slowly walked onto the stage. This person was Qin Kuan. He was dressed stylishly, with a mature and handsome hairstyle, and slowly walked to the center of the stage. "So handsome. You don't know him? He's the one who's been pursuing the department beauty." "Ah, it's him. I've heard." "No, he's so handsome, and he still hasn't won her over." "Don't even mention it. I heard she doesn't even pay him any attention." Standing on stage, Qin Kuan could also hear some of the chatter. To him, it was like little knives stabbing into his heart. His gaze scanned the audience below, especially focusing on the corners, the dark spots, but he couldn't see the person he most wanted to see. As expected, she didn't come. He muttered to himself. After signing up, he had told Shenlini, inviting her to come, but she hadn't said anything, no reply, no response. For these 3 months, Qin Kuan had been openly pursuing Shenlini, trying to cater to her interests, reading quietly, even giving up his own hobbies like playing ball and gaming. Shenlini hadn't shown any disgust or aversion, which gave Qin Kuan a slight illusion that he had a good chance. Today's song was intended for her, but she hadn't come, hadn't accepted his invitation. As the stage lights slowly brightened and the music began, Qin Kuan stood in place, holding the microphone, his lips pursed, feeling a bit heartbroken. "You have eyes that can speak. You have an understanding heart. The reckless me. Your smile always makes me infatuated with you." The entire venue quieted down, everyone focused on listening to Qin Kuan sing, seemingly able to feel his emotions through his voice. "For what reason does your hair's fragrance always linger? My world. When did it start? Day and night indistinguishable, turning upside down, all because I'm thinking of you. Oh, I secretly fell in love with you. But I don't dare to tell you, because I know I can't give you what you want." After the song ended, thunderous applause erupted from below the stage. Qin Kuan indeed sang very well, and with great emotion. Many people in the audience were moved to tears, as if reminded of some past event in their own lives. Qin Kuan stepped off the stage, not planning to rest or wait for the competition results. He directly left the venue. The time spent singing this song had completely opened his heart, allowing him to face his true feelings. He had only one thing to do now, and that was to call Shenlini. He wanted to express his thoughts, to convey his feelings to her. These past few months of observation had made Qin Kuan understand that Shenlini wasn't a cold person at all. She was just rather socially anxious, just afraid of social interaction. That's why he had tried his best to approach her, to be friends with her, hoping to draw her out of her inner world. But now, he could no longer be satisfied with just being friends or classmates. He had fallen deeply in love with Shenlini. He wanted to confess. After leaving the venue, Qin Kuan went outside to a quiet roadside. The weather was rather cold. His breath fogged, and he was wearing thin clothes, making him feel very cold. But the fire in his heart kept him going. He took out his phone, searching for Shenlini's phone number. After all this time, he hadn't managed to add Shenlini as a friend, nor had he gotten her phone number. Even this number he had asked the counselor for, saying he had something to ask her. Qin Kuan looked at the phone number before him, took a deep breath, and then pressed dial. Then he put the phone to his ear, his hand trembling slightly. Winter was approaching. It was even about to snow. He wanted to be in a relationship, to find someone to spend the winter with, and that person had to be Shenlini. The phone rang a few times before it was answered. "Hello." Shenlini's voice came from the other end, very soft, and her tone very cold. Hearing Shenlini's voice, Qin Kuan's eyes instantly lit up. He hadn't expected her to actually answer. In fact, Qin Kuan had no confidence that Shenlini would pick up. He felt she wasn't the type to answer call from strangers. Good evening, Shenlini. I'm Qin Kuan." Qin Kuan stammered, so nervous he could barely breathe. He had confessed many times before, but never this nervously. "Oh, what is it?" Shenlini didn't seem too surprised, just replied casually, which temporarily set Chin Kuen's mind at ease. For him, as long as she didn't hang up directly, it was good. Chin Kuen gathered his thoughts and slowly began. I actually have something I want to tell you. I hope you can. Listen patiently. It's just, the first time I saw you, back when we were freshmen, just after school started, I thought you were so beautiful. I couldn't help but ask for your name. Although you told me, your tone made me feel like you hated me. Later, we didn't have much interaction, and I didn't dare to bother you. Until this semester began, I gradually realized you might not actually dislike other people. You might just be very socially anxious, not knowing how to make friends, not knowing how to talk to others. You can probably feel it too, right? In the past 3 months, we've had more contact, and you haven't resisted too much. I think we're already considered friends. Shunlini remained silent on the other end, just listening to Chin Kuen speak. But I've discovered I've completely fallen for you. You are the most beautiful encounter of my life, and the only obsession I'll ever have. Shunlini, I like you. Can you be my girlfriend? Chin Kuen pinched his thigh while forcing himself to say these words. After he finished, his heart pounded like a drum. It felt like it was about to leap out of his throat. No. The single word that came unhesitatingly from the other end of the line made Chin Kuen freeze on the spot, his heart seeming to stop in an instant. I'm not interested in dating, nor do I want to make friends. I already have good friends. Before, out of consideration for our classmateship, I was too embarrassed to refuse you. Since you've had the nerve to confess, I'll make things clear today. Could I trouble you to please not bother me anymore in the future? I'm afraid others might misunderstand. Beep. As soon as Shunlini finished speaking, Chin Kuen heard the sound of the call disconnecting. Chin Kuen's expression froze on his face. After a long silence, his phone thwacked onto the ground. Thud. The next second, he fell directly to his knees, his face filled with disbelief. At that moment, soft, light snowflakes began to drift down from the sky, dense and numerous, like goose down and butterfly wings dancing everywhere. Simultaneously, from a singer competition venue, a loud song rang out. Snowflakes drift, north wind howls, heaven and earth, a vast expanse. Chin Kuen knelt on the ground, as if his heart had died, feeling the white snow fall upon him, motionless. He had thought he had a good chance. Even if she didn't accept, she wouldn't have rejected him so decisively. But he hadn't expected that she already disliked him so much, just hadn't said it directly out of politeness. Unconsciously, tears welled up in his eyes, streaming down his cheeks to his jaw. Hey! Just then, he felt an umbrella appear over his head. Someone was standing beside him, shielding him from the snow. He looked up and saw a tall, thin boy standing next to him, holding an umbrella, looking at him with a pitying expression. He slowly squatted down beside Chin Kuen, still holding the umbrella for him, his other hand gently resting on Chin Kuen's shoulder, and said softly, "No matter what it is, don't be sad here alone. If you need, I can chat with you." Chin Kuen wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and asked, stuttering, Who are you? My name is Bai Tsong. You can call me Xiao Bai, or it's Song, either is fine. May I ask your name? Chin Kuen. Good name, very nice. Anyway, don't you feel a bit lonely being sad here all by yourself? I know a place that has pretty good late-night snacks. My treat, how about it? Bai Tsong pointed behind him, winked, and chuckled. But, I don't know you. So what? Do guys need complicated reasons to build a friendship? I'm a guy, what are you afraid of? Let's go. I'll listen to your story. Maybe I can help you. Bai Tsong reached out and pulled Chin Kuen up. Then, Chin Kuen didn't refuse. He hesitated a bit, but still followed Bai Tsong. The arrival of the first snow brought a different feeling to the students, especially to couples, bringing them romance. At this time, in the Juanhing building, most students and tutors had already left. The building was dark, with only the lights on the top floor still lit. All right, let's call it a day here. You two go back and rest well. If there's anything you don't understand, ask me again. Han Wencheng smiled slightly, packed his things, and left the classroom. Only 2 people remained in the classroom, Zhou Heng and Yin Mengran. For some reason, they had been separated and couldn't sit together, otherwise they couldn't study peacefully. After it ended, Zhou Heng stood up, faced Yin Mengran, opened his arms, and called out in a pitiable voice, "Wifey." "Hubby, I'm here." Yin Mengran quickly stood up too, hugged the rushing in Zhou Heng, and gently stroked his head, comforting him in a low voice. "So tired. So hard. I really want to rest." Zhou Heng went through his daily litany of complaints, sighing about the hardships of his current life every day. But the next day, he would have to experience the same or even more tiring things. "How about we tell Professor Han and take a few days off? It should be fine, right? My hubby is too tired. My heart aches for him. Imran's eyes were full of doting affection, gently patting Zhou Heng's back, like a kind mother comforting her child. In fact, both of them studied almost the same things, and Mingran even studied harder. But Mingran had never complained of being tired, nor had fatigue ever been seen on her face, because she knew she had to be a positive influence on Zhou Heng. If she also sighed and complained about being tired, Zhou Heng definitely wouldn't be able to persevere. Zhou Heng could also feel that Mingran had become his spiritual pillar, always able to find comfort from her no matter when. Wifey, how about we take a few days off together and go out to play for a few days? Just the two of us, okay? We haven't been on a date alone for so long. Hearing Zhou Heng's words, Imran's eyes instantly lit up, a joyful smile appearing on her lips. Really? Okay. We're here. Let's rest for a bit. Zhou Heng and Mingran walked into the room, put down their luggage, and both sat on the sofa. They had taken leave and come to this hot spring hotel, preparing to relax properly. They had packed their things early in the morning, left school, came here, and got a room. Mingran sat up, looked at Zhou Heng beside her, and whispered, "Hubby, I just noticed the name of this hotel seems to have the words by Jean, white gold. Ah, this is also one of Bai Tsang's family's places." Zhou Heng hadn't noticed this. He had just seen it recommended online and hadn't paid much attention to the name, so he didn't react immediately. It's okay, right? Anyway, we're not using that card. Just paying normally should be fine, right? It's fine. Bai Tsang doesn't know we're here, and the people here don't know us. We won't use that card. Zhou Heng nodded, agreeing with Mingran. Although he was also curious if that card was as exaggerated as Bai Tsang claimed, he didn't want to try it. It wouldn't cost much anyway. No need to use that favor. It was already noon, and both were a bit hungry, so Zhou Heng suggested they go eat something first. The hotel had a restaurant, which they had seen online, and it was quite good. Zhou Heng and Mingran went to the hotel's restaurant together. There were already many people there, and it was about to run out of seats. It was a buffet costing a few hundred yuan per person, with all sorts of things available. Whatever you wanted to eat, you could find. The two paid and went in to get food, finding an empty table. This place is quite nice. Indeed. Zhou Heng looked up, observing the restaurant's environment. It was indeed very nice, looking clean. In such a place, the food also seemed more delicious. Just then, he saw a boy sitting at the next table, constantly staring at Mingran. Only when Zhou Heng's gaze shifted over did he avert his eyes, pretending he hadn't been looking at all. Zhou Heng just frowned slightly and didn't pay too much attention. After all, when they were out, it was normal for boys to stare at Mingran. They had encountered this often before. The boy sat there alone, not in a hurry to eat, as if waiting for someone. "After we finish eating, let's go back and rest for a bit, then wander around here, okay? And then we'll go to the hot springs at night. How about that? I heard that at night, after dark when the lights are on, it's especially beautiful." Mingran hadn't noticed the change in Zhou Heng's expression and was discussing their itinerary with him. Zhou Heng came back to his senses, nodded, and replied, "Okay. I'm here. Sorry to keep you waiting." Just then, a girl's voice came from behind, and then she sat down directly opposite the boy at the next table. Zhou Heng just glanced casually, didn't see her face, and looked away, couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Has a girlfriend and still looks at other people's girlfriends. Really? I feel sorry for his girlfriend. Thoughts were thoughts. He just complained a little. After all, everyone is different, and it had nothing to do with him. However, Mingran looked directly over, and after seeing the girl, her mouth dropped open in surprise. Mingran was stunned for a few seconds, then quickly turned her head, covering her face with her hand, as if afraid the people at the next table would see her. What's wrong? Zhou Heng didn't know what was wrong with Mingran, thought her hair was covering her eyes, and considerately reached out to help Mingran smooth her hair. "No, nothing, hubby. How about we change seats? This place feels not very good." Mingran lowered her voice and whispered. Zhou Heng frowned slightly, puzzled, not knowing why Mingran suddenly said that. While the two were silent, they heard the people at the next table talking. "Just the two of us. Isn't it a bit wasteful to get 2 rooms? Why don't you cancel your room? The two of us can share a twin room. How about it? In your dreams. We've only been together for a month. It's impossible for us to live together." The girl refused without hesitation, leaving no room for discussion. At this moment, Zhou Heng felt something was off. This girl's voice, why did it sound so familiar? Zhou Heng looked up, glanced to the side, and after seeing the girl, his eyes widened instantly. The girl felt someone looking at her, so she also turned to look at Zhou Heng, and their eyes met. While the two were stunned, Min Gran couldn't hold it in anymore, looked at the girl, raised a faint smile, and said, "Huh, what a coincidence to meet you here. Long time no see, Tong Yining." This girl was indeed their high school classmate, Tong Yining. Originally, Min Gran had planned to pretend she hadn't seen her after spotting her, but Zhou Heng and she had already made eye contact. Well, she was the class monitor in high school, so now seeing a high school classmate, she definitely had to say hello. Yes, what? What a coincidence. Long time no see. Tong Yining slowly raised her hand, waved it slightly, and greeted them in a low voice, her expression looking a bit unnatural, as if nervous about this sudden event. You know each other? The boy opposite Tong Yining looked at Zhou Heng and Min Gran, then asked Tong Yining. High school classmates. Tong Yining introduced them softly, without saying much. Min Gran looked at the boy. He looked okay, ordinary. He should be Tong Yining's boyfriend. She hadn't expected Tong Yining to have a boyfriend too. With her looks, she should have been able to get a more handsome boyfriend. Hello, I'm Tong Yining's boyfriend. My name is Zhou Hongyu. The boy introduced himself proactively, smiling slightly at the two. Also surnamed Zhou. Min Gran laughed awkwardly a few times, then looked at Zhou Heng opposite her. Zhou Heng also spoke. My name is Zhou Heng. This is my wife, Min Gran. Hearing Zhou Heng call Min Gran wife made Tong Yining pause slightly, her eyes widening a little. Zhou Hongyu was also a bit surprised, but didn't show it too much. It wasn't uncommon for couples to call each other husband and wife. He asked curiously, "Are you two also from Dongong?" Dongong. Zhou Heng frowned slightly, not understanding what he meant. Min Gran leaned close to Zhou Heng's ear and whispered, "It should be Dongju Polytechnic Institute. The nearby university seems to be a second-tier one." Oh, that Dongong. Zhou Heng remembered. There indeed was such a school. When he looked at Tong Yining, she lowered her head in embarrassment, her hand gripping the fork tightening. Zhou Heng and Min Gran sighed inwardly. In high school, Tong Yining's grades were quite good, among the top. In later exams, her grades kept declining. They hadn't expected her to end up in a second-tier university. Normally, her grades should have easily gotten her into first-tier one. Zhou Hongyu was still a bit puzzled. Just then, Tong Yining glared at him before slowly saying, "They're from Dongda. Dongju University. Holy crap. That Dongda. So impressive." Zhou Hongyu's mouth fell open in surprise as he looked at Zhou Heng and Min Gran, his eyes wide. Zhou Heng and Min Gran didn't reply, just scratched their heads awkwardly. For them, the people they interacted with were all quite formidable, so they had forgotten that they themselves were also quite impressive. Getting into Dongju University was inherently a remarkable achievement. The two of them didn't talk to Tong Yining and her companion anymore, focusing on their own food. Tong Yining was already very embarrassed, so not talking was fine. She could leave as soon as she finished eating. Zhou Hongyu, however, kept trying to strike up a conversation with Zhou Heng and the others. "How long have you two been dating? Dongju University, it's pretty good, right? Are you two also off today? Why did you come so far? Can you go back tonight?" Zhou Heng and Min Gran took turns answering his questions. Although they were getting a bit impatient, the other person didn't have any ill intentions. So they answered everything. "Stop asking, be quiet." Tong Yining tugged his arm, signaling him to stop asking. The relationship between the three of them was already a bit awkward, yet he kept chatting with them, making not only them uncomfortable, but herself as well. "Aren't you all classmates? Why so distant?" Zhou Hongyu, on the contrary, chided Tong Yining a bit. After all, he didn't quite understand. High school classmates should have a deep bond, right? They meet and don't even chat much? Just a simple greeting is enough. At this moment, in the surveillance room, a middle-aged man in a suit stood there, staring at the monitors, answering a phone call. "Manager Liu, it's me." Yes, young masterby, I'm listening. What can I do for you?" The man called Manager Liu immediately responded to the voice on the phone, looking very sycophantic. And on the other end of the phone was by Song's voice. "Manager Liu, did a guest surnamed Zhou come to your place today?" Manager Liu stared at the monitors, looking around. There were many people in every monitor, too many to keep track of. "Surnamed Zhou. Young masterby, there's so many guests surnamed Zhou, I don't know which one you're referring to. I can't tell you the name, it's confidential. But the characteristics are very obvious. About my age with a girlfriend, and the girlfriend is very beautiful." "Okay, that makes it much easier to find. What are your instructions? They should be eating around this time, right? If they're eating in a restaurant, arrange something nice for them and upgrade their room to the top-tier suite. Anyway, just treat them as VIPs of the highest level, understand?" Okay, understood. I'll make sure it's arranged properly." Manager Lou nodded hurriedly and then hung up the phone. He stared at the restaurant's surveillance feed, squinting his eyes, seemingly having found his target. About 10 minutes later, Manager Lou strode towards the restaurant, followed by two waiters carrying a large serving platter. The platter was like a small mountain, filled with all sorts of delicacies, seafood sashimi, and whatnot. It was exquisitely decorated, with dry ice smoke, and the value of the whole platter was at least over 2,000 yuan. The platter itself cost around 1,000. Passing guests stared in shock, wondering who this was for. So extravagant? Manager Lou entered the restaurant, and soon, his eyes locked onto a direction. He slowly walked over. Looking over, Min Gran and Tong Yining were both facing the manager. Both were very beautiful, very good-looking, at least in Manager Lu's eyes. And the two boys opposite them. One looked like a university student, his build, and everything fitting the description. The other, with such broad shoulders, such a sturdy physique. He should be older, right? He didn't look like he was the same age as young Master Bai. After Manager Lu walked over, he quickly attracted the attention of the four. He bent down, rubbing his hands, a smile on his face, and softly called out, "Mr. Zhou." Zhou Hongyu reacted first, looked up, turned around, and looked at Manager Lu with surprise. Then Zhou Hong also turned his head and glanced at the manager, but upon seeing the extravagant thing behind Manager Lu, he immediately frowned, turned his head away, and pretended not to see. With that, Manager Lu locked onto his target. It must be this boy in front of him. He looked about the same age as young Master Bai, with a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was very beautiful. "Ah, Mr. Zhou, hello. I'm a manager of Baijin, Qinghe Hot Spring Hotel. My surname is Lu. This is a gift from our boss. I hope you and your girlfriend have a pleasant time here. Please forgive us for any shortcomings in our hospitality." After Manager Lu finished speaking, he stepped aside, allowing the two waiters to place the extravagant large platter on their table. Now, the entire restaurant's attention was focused here, everyone craning their necks, extremely curious. Zhou Hongyu and Tong Yining were both dumbfounded, sitting there motionless, their hands frozen in mid-air. Min Gran was the first to react, leaned closer to Zhou Hong, and asked in a low voice, could this be something Bai Tsang intended for you? Perhaps. Lucky there's a scapegoat. Let's eat quickly and leave as soon as we're done. Zhou Hong replied in a low voice, a hint of schadenfreude in his tone. He hadn't expected Bai Tsang to find out they were here so quickly. Was he planning to force them to owe him a favor? Fortunately, there was another person surnamed Zhou nearby. Now, Bai Tsang's favor had been sent to the wrong person, and it had nothing to do with Zhou Hong and the others. Manager Lu hadn't left yet, and continued to ask, "Excuse me, sirs, do you need a private room? I'll take you there immediately. If you have any needs, please feel free to ask. I can fulfill them." Tong Yining, like a zombie, craned her neck towards Zhou Hongyu and asked, "What did you do?" Zhou Hongyu's neck was even stiffer. He shook his head and said, "I don't know. Let's go." Zhou Hong and Min Gran didn't stay long. After this incident at the next table, they stood up and left. At this point, Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu were still completely bewildered and didn't even notice them leave. "Do you know the boss here?" Tong Yining lowered her voice, asking Zhou Hongyu. Didn't the manager just say it was a gift from the boss? If they didn't know him, who would send something so inexplicably? "I should know him, right?" Zhou Hongyu felt his mouth go dry, his mind frantically searching for who this boss could be, whether he knew him or not. But in his memory, he didn't know anyone this influential. Could it be that someone he knew was hiding their identity? He originally wanted to deny it, but this face-saving opportunity, why not take it? His surname was Zhou anyway. The manager called him Mr. Zhou, nothing wrong with that, and he hadn't impersonated anyone. Just then, Zhou Hongyu suddenly remembered, it seemed. He wasn't the only Mr. Zhou present. Wasn't Tong Yining's male classmate also surnamed Zhou? Zhou Hongyu turned his head to look towards Zhou Heng's table, only to find the seats empty. Zhou Hong and the others had left at some unknown time. If that was the case, then it probably wasn't him, right? After all, if it really was him, he should have told the manager immediately when the gift was delivered to the wrong person. How could he have left so quietly and unnoticed? This meant this thing was really for him. He really knew the boss here. Unconsciously, Zhou Hongyu's posture straightened a bit, a hint of confidence appearing on his face. "Please tell the boss that I've received his kind gesture. Thank him for me." Zhou Hongyu turned to Manager Lu beside him and said coolly, his tone and demeanor completely different from before. "Yes, sir. If you need anything else, just call me. I won't disturb you any longer." Manager Lu nodded, smiled, and left, feeling happy about perfectly completing his task. He'd probably get a bonus this time. Zhou Hongyu picked up his chopsticks, looking at the bonsai-like delicacy before him, momentarily unsure how to start. Eat. No, I'm full. You eat. Tong Yining waved her hand, refusing him. She wouldn't dare touch this thing. How could she eat it? Besides, she felt there was something fishy about this. Too strange. What if they were planning to scam them and then demand money after they ate? Who knew how much this huge bonsai cost? She wasn't eating. Zhou Hongyu clearly hadn't thought of this. He picked up some food and started eating. The seafood sashimi and other items on it were all the freshest, and the taste was completely different. Pufferfish and the like were all cleaned very well, and crabs, shrimp, etc. were all fully shelled, ready to eat. Zhou Hongyu didn't hold back, eating quite a lot. It was free anyway. Why did your two classmates leave so suddenly? I was thinking of inviting them to eat with us. Zhou Hongyu asked Tong Yining while eating. Tong Yining paused, then shook her head and said, Them? They wouldn't eat this. They probably wanted to pretend they didn't know me when they saw me. Huh? Why? Is your relationship not good? Don't ask about that. It's none of your business. After Manager Liu went out, just as he was excitedly about to report the matter, a waiter immediately ran over to him. Manager Liu, just now. Mr. Bai called. Really? What did Mr. Bai say? Manager Liu frowned slightly, looking at the waiter, and asked doubtfully. Mr. Bai said that Mr. Zhou and his girlfriend have a card given by young Master Bai. With that card, all expenses can be waived with no limit. He hopes you can confirm that the card is still in their possession and then waive their expenses. Oh, I know that card. Mr. I mentioned it before. I understand. I'll go confirm. Manager Liu nodded, then walked back, heading straight for Zhou Hongyu and Tong Yining. Tong Yining watched Manager Liu approach step by step, feeling her heart pound for some reason. Nothing good was going to happen, so she picked up her phone, lowered her head, and pretended not to know anything. Manager Liu walked up to Zhou Hongyu, bowed slightly, and asked with a smile, Hello? Mr. Zhou, it's like this. Did you bring that card? Please let me see it, so I can report to my superiors. Manager Liu pointed upwards, his meaning clear. His superior was the boss. What? Card? Zhou Hongyu, still chewing on some pufferfish, blinked and looked at Manager Liu blankly. Manager Liu was also stumped for a moment, but patiently said, It's the card the boss gave you. Didn't you bring it? The card he gave me. I have a room card. Is this it? Zhou Hongyu took out his room key card from his pocket, handed it to Manager Liu, and stammered. At this point, he also sensed something was wrong, his hands trembling slightly. Manager Liu tilted his head, also realizing something seemed off. His mouth twitched, forcing a smile, suppressing his inner emotions, and said in a low voice, Are you joking? I'm talking about the birthday gift for your girlfriend, that black gold card, given when it was her birthday. Birthday? Zhou Hongyu looked at Tong Yining opposite him, feeling puzzled. Could it be that the boss actually knew Tong Yining? But when was her birthday? How come he didn't know? At this point, Tong Yining had already realized this whole thing was a blunder, and she also suspected that the person they were talking about was Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran. Zhou Heng was also Mr. Zhou, and Yin Mingran had just celebrated her birthday a little over 3 months ago. Tong Yining said nothing, kept her head down low, her heart pounding thump-thump, terrified. Zhou Hongyu slowly turned his head, looking at Manager Liu with a dazed expression. Then, his expression changed as if he was about to cry. Do you know young Master Bai? Name Bai Song. Manager Liu's face was already looking unwell, and his tone became less polite, cold, and imposing, creating a lot of pressure. Zhou Hongyu was so scared he trembled all over, his throat moved, and he stammered out, Don't know. Hiss. Manager Liu sucked in a sharp breath, turned to look at the large platter on the table. The food on it was now a mess, half-eaten. Zhou Hongyu was completely panicked now, sitting on pins and needles, cold sweat pouring down. Excuse me, if you don't know the boss, why didn't you say so? We made a mistake in identifying you. That's our fault, but why did you falsely claim it? Manager Liu's voice wasn't loud, his tone calm, but it carried a sense of pressure that made Zhou Hongyu feel like he couldn't breathe. No, I didn't mean to. I thought I knew him. You thought you knew him? Are you speaking Chinese? How come I don't understand? Don't you know whether you know someone or not? Little brother, the most important thing for a person is to be honest. If you don't know, you don't know. You can't lie just to save face in front of your girlfriend, can you? Manager Liu stood with his hands on his hips, constantly approaching, making Zhou Hongyu involuntarily retreat a little to maintain a safe distance. He turned to look at Tong Yining, casting a pleading gaze. He now had no idea what to do. He had eaten so much. What if they made him pay? Wouldn't that be several thousand yuan? Where'd he get that kind of money? How many dishes would he have to wash to get out of this? Tong Yining looked up and saw Zhou Hongyu's pleading eyes. He had no choice but to pin his hopes on Tong Yining, hoping she could think of a way to help him. Tong Yining originally didn't want to help, but if she just abandoned Zhou Hongyu, it would make her seem like a terrible person, too inhuman. But to make her pay for this large platter of food was definitely impossible. She hadn't eaten it, hadn't even touched it. If she had to think of a way, she did indeed have one, but it was a bit unrealistic and would also make her lose all face. That was to ask Zhou Hong and Yi Minggran for help. Manager Liu took a step back and said loudly, "Ahem, guest, given that we were at fault first, we won't charge you the full price. It was originally 3,888 yuan. You pay 1,000 yuan. And this matter is over, okay?" His voice was loud, heard throughout the entire restaurant, instantly making Zhou Hongyu extremely embarrassed. He buried his head low, wishing he could find a hole to crawl into. "No, isn't this extortion? Whose fault is it that you serve it wrong? Now you're demanding money from us. This is too much." Tong Yining couldn't bear it anymore. Wasn't this bullying? So she immediately slammed the table and stood up, retorting loudly. Manager Liu looked Tong Yining up and down, as if that one glance could discern her background and status, and snorted disdainfully, "Little beauty, you can't just say things like that. How is this extortion? All the ingredients we use are top grade. If we calculate based on what he ate, 1,000 yuan is a steal for you, okay? Regardless, was the food eaten by him or not? If it was eaten, then you have to pay. You clearly said it was a gift from the boss. If you don't believe it, check the surveillance. We didn't buy it. This is a forced sale. It's illegal." Tong Yining pointed her finger at Manager Liu, arguing with him. She originally wanted Zhou Hongyu to say a few words too, but when she looked down, she found him standing there silently, completely cowed. It was one thing for him not to back her up, but at this moment, he actually looked up, tugged her sleeve, and said, how about we just let it go? I didn't bring that much money either. I'll go borrow some. I can still manage 1,000 yuan. I've already eaten it, so forget it." This action infuriated Tong Yining to no end. She was here, standing up for him, speaking for him, and he was the first to wave the white flag and surrender. This move, wasn't it just selling her out? It made her look like a fool. "Fine, I won't bother with you then. You pay." Tong Yining decided not to get involved anymore. Anyway, she hadn't eaten, so if he admitted to paying, let him pay. It had nothing to do with her. Can you lend me some? I'll definitely pay you back. Why get my next living allowance? I promise." Tong Yining's eyebrows knitted tightly. She stared at him in disbelief, unable to believe he was actually asking to borrow money from her. He had just backstabbed her when she was helping him, and now he was openly taking advantage of her? A bully to his own kind? Just picking on her? Manager Liu pointed at the two and said, "Since you two are together, then just split it. It doesn't matter how you pay." Even though Manager Liu said this, Zhou Hongyu still showed no signs of resistance, just looking at Tong Yining with a pitiful expression. "I'm really done with you. You're such a man." Tong Yining was utterly speechless, giving him a thumbs up. She had truly seen through this person today, so bizarre. She definitely wouldn't lend this money to Zhou Hongyu, nor would she just accept the loss. This clearly had nothing to do with her. Why should she be the scapegoat? All she wanted to do now was complain about this manager. He was too much of a bully. "Where's your boss? I want to talk to your boss." Tong Yining leaned back in her chair, crossed her legs, folded her arms, and stared at Manager Liu with dissatisfaction. Manager Liu completely disregarded Tong Yining's words, saying, "Our boss is very busy, managing countless affairs daily. Even I can't contact him casually. So, the boss has entrusted all matters here to me. If you know the boss, then call him yourself." Manager Liu's words sounded like he was mocking them for not knowing the boss, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "TSK. Fine. Tong Yining was thoroughly enraged by Manager Liu's words. She didn't argue or make a scene, just responded coolly, then took out her phone and started searching for something. Manager Liu didn't care at all. He didn't believe this little girl could actually know the boss. Impossible. Tong Yining indeed didn't know him, but she was now looking for someone who might. Soon, she found two contacts she hadn't reached out to in a very, very long time. One was Zhou Hong, the other was Yi Minggran. Tong Yining began to hesitate. She didn't know who to call. If it was Zhou Hong, he might not even bother with her, or hang up before she could say anything, or perhaps the message sent would already have a red exclamation mark. But with Yi Minggran, there might still be a sliver of hope. After all, Yi Minggran had a good personality, was a nice person, maybe there was still a chance. After hesitating, Tong Yining called Mingran. The phone rang for a long time, but no one answered on the other end, making Tong Yining start to panic, worried that no one would pick up. Just when she had completely given up hope, the call was suddenly connected. Hello. Mingran's puzzled voice came from the other end, a voice that sounded reluctant yet polite in answering the phone. Tong Yining, as if grasping a lifeline, her eyes lit up, and she immediately said, Mingran, it's like this. I know I shouldn't be calling you, but I hope you can help me, for the sake of our being high school classmates. Huh? Help with what? Then, Tong Yining recounted the entire incident to Mingran, word for word, without embellishment, because it wasn't necessary. The situation itself was already outrageous enough. Mingran was silent on her end. On Tong Yining's side, Zhou Hongyu kept staring at her, his thoughts unknown, as if he didn't understand what Tong Yining was doing. After she finished explaining everything, she only heard Mingran reply from the other side. Got it. Then she hung up the phone, without saying another word, nor giving Tong Yining a chance to say anything further. This made Tong Yining still very worried, not knowing what Mingran meant or whether she would come help. She couldn't call back to press her either. Tong Yining sat down, feigning composure. She couldn't let herself appear so flustered. She had to appear as if she had everything under control. Manager Liu was still saying something to Zhou Hongyu, basically brainwashing him into completely admitting it was his fault. And Zhou Hongyu, true to form, after a few words from Manager Liu, really did believe it was all his fault. He kept apologizing and started figuring out how to scrape together the money. Tong Yining just sat there, silent, waiting quietly, seemingly calm and collected, but inwardly, she was panicking like crazy. It wasn't until she saw two familiar figures walk in through the entrance that her eyes lit up and the heavy feeling in her heart instantly lifted. She hadn't expected Mingran and Zhou Hong to actually come. Tong Yining immediately stood up and went to greet them. Manager Liu and Zhou Hongyu also cast their gazes over, their expressions somewhat puzzled. Ran, I knew you wouldn't ignore this. Tong Yining looked at Mingran with eyes full of gratitude. Although she said this, she was actually very unconfident inside. Mingran glanced at her, gently shook her head, and said, After all, this matter is related to us. We can't ignore it. Mingran glanced back at Zhou Hong, who nodded. The two of them had actually already discussed it. They hadn't planned to intervene, but then they remembered that the item was a gift from Bai Tsong, intended for them. If this hadn't happened, Tong Yining and her companion wouldn't have been bullied like this, so it wouldn't be right for them not to intervene. After the group returned to the table, Manager Liu looked the two of them up and down. Mingran looked at him and asked, Manager, this item, was it something your boss intended for someone else, right? You delivered it to the wrong person, so why are you still demanding money? Isn't that a bit much? Manager Liu squinted, didn't directly answer Mingran's question, but instead asked in a low voice, May I ask who you are? Zhou Hong stepped forward and said assertively, Does it matter who we are? Let's just discuss the matter at hand. It has nothing to do with who we are. Are you going to treat people differently based on who they are? Of course it matters. If it doesn't concern you, please don't interfere with this matter, okay? Manager Liu pursed his lips and turned his head away. Mingran shook her head helplessly, then reached into her pocket and took something out. Take it. You want this, don't you? Manager Liu turned his head back, looked at what was in Mingran's hand, and when he saw clearly what it was, his eyes widened instantly. Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu also saw it. What Mingran was holding was a black gold card. Tong Yining confirmed it. This item was indeed intended for Zhou Hong and Mingran, and it had been delivered to the wrong people. Zhou Hongyu also understood what was going on, his eyes wide with shock, a look of extreme fright on his face. Manager Liu immediately bowed, carefully took the card with both hands, and examined it repeatedly, confirming that the card was genuine. Zhou Hong stepped forward and said coldly, Is this how you do things? Your boss asked you to deliver something. You not only delivered it to the wrong person, but you also demand money from others. You're really trying to ruin the reputation of this place. I will tell Bai Tsong about this. I'm friends with him. Seeing a problem here, as a friend, I definitely have to tell him. Now, do you think this matter concerns us? You are Mr. Zhou. Mr. Zhou, this is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I was also thinking of the hotel's interests. This. Manager Liu's attitude immediately changed. When speaking to Zhou Hong, he was bowing, and his tone of voice completely transformed. Seeing this, Zhou Hongyu was dumbfounded. He had been terrified by this manager just moments ago, and in the blink of an eye, it was the manager's turn to be terrified. But Tong Yining's classmate, Was he that formidable? So powerful. He even knew the boss here. You don't need to explain to me. You should think carefully about how to explain to Baitsong. Zhou Heng waved his hand, stopping Manager Lu from continuing, then picked up his phone and called Baitsong. This, Mr. Zhou, please calm down, Mr. Zhou. I didn't have any bad intentions. Let's just forget it. Don't tell young Master Bai. At this point, Manager Lu was so scared that cold sweat was trickling down. In reality, his earlier overbearing demeanor was all an act. He actually knew it was all his fault, but as a manager, how could he directly admit his mistake? What authority and face would he have left? So he saw that the two students were easy to bully and pushed all the responsibility onto them, essentially making them scapegoats. He hadn't expected these two to know this, Mr. Zhou. Hello. Zhou Heng, what's up? Weren't you guys out having fun? How's it going? After the call connected, Baitsong's voice came from the other end. He was still pretending he didn't know anything, his tone calm. When he saw Zhou Heng calling, he was overjoyed, thinking Zhou Heng was calling to thank him for his consideration. In reality, he couldn't have imagined that Zhou Heng was calling to complain. Us? We had an okay time, I guess. If it weren't for a little hiccup, it would have been pretty good. A hiccup? What hiccup? Baitsong suddenly tensed up, a bad feeling rising in his heart. What do you think? We were at your family's hotel. You should know about that, right? You even had someone send us things. That. Well, you guys came to my family's place to hang out. How could I not take care of you a bit? We're good friends, after all. It's what I should do. But it seems like that wasn't handled very well. Why don't you give your manager here a call and ask what exactly happened? Hearing this, Baitsong froze, his heart jolting. It seemed his ominous premonition had come true. I'll be right there, Baitsong blurted out, without even thinking, and then Zhou Heng heard a clattering sound from the other end of the phone. Baitsong was probably rushing over as fast as he could. At the same time, he didn't dare hang up on Zhou Heng, so Zhou Heng heard everything clearly. Actually, Zhou Heng hadn't intended to trouble Baitsong with this, but it was, after all, his family's hotel, and the manager was his manager. It wasn't appropriate for Zhou Heng to interfere, so it was best to let them handle it themselves. At this moment, Manager Lu's face was already deathly pale, as if he'd been thoroughly spooked, and his whole body was trembling slightly. That, Mr. Zhou, Mr. Zhou, I was wrong. You're a magnanimous person. Please don't hold it against me. I was just thinking of the hotel's best interests. Manager Lu was still quietly begging for mercy. A man in his 40s begging a male university student for forgiveness. This scene stunned everyone present, especially Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu. Seeing this, they could hardly believe their eyes. The arrogant manager from just now, how had he become so subservient? It was as if he was scared to death of Zhou Heng. Tong Yining was somewhat surprised, wondering if Zhou Heng had such a powerful background. Did he really know the owner here? If he did, then Zhou Heng himself must come from a significant background. How come there was no sign of it back in high school? Was Zhou Heng that good at hiding his strength? Acting like this will only tarnish your hotel's reputation, and the resulting losses will be even greater. How can you not understand such a simple principle? You're just trying to save face. Besides, you don't need to tell me anything. When Baitsong gets here, you can explain it to him personally. Zhou Heng gently patted Manager Lu's shoulder. His light tone was even more intimidating than Manager Lu's earlier one. Anyone who didn't know better would think Zhou Heng was his boss. After speaking, Zhou Heng took Yimengran's hand and led her away. This place had nothing to do with them anymore. He had also stuffed the card into Manager Lu's hand and didn't ask for it back. Hey, Mr. Zhou. Manager Lu watched the two of them slowly leave, completely helpless. He had no power to make them stay. If he chased after them and pestered them, it might have the opposite effect. Yimengran. Zhou. Tong Yining also wanted to say something, but watching their backs recede into the distance, she couldn't get the words out. Had they helped her? Or would they have stepped in even if it wasn't her in this situation? This was rather important to Tong Yining. It mattered whether they acted based on the person or the situation. If it was the situation, then she wasn't important at all. If it was the person, she hoped to have a good talk with them and resolve their conflicts. After all, they were classmates, and their relationship used to be quite good. She didn't want things to be like this. She had completely let go. On the day of the graduation reunion, after Tang Ji had said so much to her, made her cry, and then comforted her, she had figured out she really wasn't good enough for Zhou Heng. Only someone like Yimengran deserved him. Since she had come to terms with it, there was nothing more to it. She had started her new university life and even tried dating, although this boyfriend was unsatisfactory, even a bit too awful. Luckily, they hadn't been together long, and she had discovered his shortcomings in time. So now, Tong Yining still really wanted to talk to them, to clear the air. They weren't children anymore. They should think like adults. There was no deep-seated hatred. Perhaps they could still reconcile. Seeing that begging Zhou Hong was hopeless, Manager Liu turned his gaze to Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu. You two, please listen to my explanation. This, I definitely won't need you to pay. For the rest, please eat slowly, it's all on me. Could you two please put in a good word for me? I really didn't mean it. Manager Liu began to plead with Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu, his attitude completely different from before. Zhou Hongyu was stunned for a few seconds, then a slow smile spread across his lips, and he sat up straight. Ahem, I still prefer your rebellious look from earlier. How about this, you go back to that, and we can talk properly. Tong Yining shot him a glare and muttered under her breath. If he really did, you wouldn't be happy. Where is Manager Liu? Just then, a shout came from outside. The voice made Manager Liu tremble instantly. When he turned his head, he saw Bai Tsong striding over menacingly. Manager Liu hadn't expected Bai Tsong to arrive so quickly. Actually, after Bai Tsong learned that Zhou Hong and Yi Minggran were here, he had followed them. But he hadn't stayed at this hotel. He was nearby, as if on standby. He was afraid something might go wrong, and being close by, he could arrive at the first opportunity. Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu were taken aback when they saw Bai Tsong. Was this the owner? He looked to be about their age. Such a young owner. Young Master Bai. I'm here. Manager Liu hurriedly went to greet him, his face pale and extremely bitter, looking as if he was already prepared to face Bai Tsong's wrath. Bai Tsong walked up to Manager Liu, his gaze shifting to the side, towards Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu. When he saw Tong Yining, his eyes widened slightly. A flash of surprise crossed his eyes, but it was only for an instant before he concealed it. Then he saw the items on their table, which looked mostly eaten. Tell me, Manager Liu, what exactly happened? Young Master Bai, I didn't do it on purpose. Manager Liu didn't know how to explain for a moment, not daring to speak. At this point, Zhou Hongyu stood up directly and said, Are you the owner? Listen to me. Your manager here is terrible at his job. He's a complete robber, extortion. Zhou Hongyu, like a dog relying on its master's power, immediately started rattling on endlessly when he saw Bai Tsong arrive. Tong Yining beside him covered her forehead, looking helpless and embarrassed. Bai Tsong glanced at Zhou Hongyu, but didn't say much to him, continuing to look at Manager Liu. Seeing no way out, Manager Liu recounted what had just happened. Bai Tsong's face gradually turned ashen. Hearing that Manager Liu had delivered the wrong things and then demanded money from them, and that they were acquaintances of Zhou Hong. This had completely messed things up, offending Zhou Hong and his group. Bai Tsong pointed at Manager Liu, his face flushed, breathing heavily, looking like he was about to explode. He had originally intended to curry favor, but now Manager Liu had ruined everything. No wonder Zhou Heng's tone was so bad when he called. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't be happy either. Handle this properly, or you can forget about being a manager. Bai Tsong patted Manager Liu's shoulder, said this, and then hurriedly left. Halfway out, he remembered something, so he turned back, walked up to Manager Liu, reached out, and snatched the black gold card from his hand. Give it here. His main priority now was to apologize to Zhou Hong and Yi Minggran and calm him down. That was the most important thing. As for Tong Yining's side, he didn't care. He'd let the manager handle it. Bai Tsong left in a hurry, running in the direction Zhou Hong and Yi Minggran had taken. Seeing Bai Tsong leave, Zhou Hongyu sat down, feeling somewhat cowardly again for some reason. It was as if the pillar of support he relied on had suddenly disappeared, and he didn't dare to be so arrogant when facing the manager alone. As a result, the manager turned his head, looked at Zhou Hongyu and the others, and put on a tearful face. Tong Yining didn't want to stay here anymore either. She wanted to find Yi Minggran and Zhou Hong, partly to thank them, and partly to have a good talk with them, to see if there was a chance to mend their relationship. Only Zhou Hongyu and Manager Liu remained. Seeing Tong Yining leave, Zhou Hongyu looked bewildered, but didn't dare to stop her. After Zhou Hong and Yi Minggran left, they returned to their room. Before they could even rest properly, they heard a knock on the door. Zhou Hong and Yi Minggran exchanged a look. Then Zhou Hong stood up to open the door. Reaching the door, he asked, Who is it? Bai Tsong's tentative voice came from outside. Zhou Hong. It's me, Bai Tsong. I'm here. I want to explain things to you properly. You're here so quickly? Didn't I just call you not long ago? I happened to be nearby, so I was quick. I'll definitely take care of things with the manager. Don't be angry, okay? If you need anything, Just say so, I can satisfy any request. Bai Song said softly from outside the door. Zhou Heng couldn't just turn him away, so he opened the door and said, "We're not angry. We just felt that since we're friends with you, and a problem occurred at your family's hotel, as friends, we should definitely step up and do something about it. Right? Just don't blame us for meddling." Zhou Heng turned to look at Yin Mingran inside the room, met her eyes, and nodded. Bai Song quickly waved his hands, saying, "How could this be meddling? I'm very grateful to you. Otherwise, it would have definitely caused losses for the hotel. I was just afraid he offended you. It's not good if your mood is ruined on a trip out. It's fine, we're not that petty. We won't let such a small thing affect our mood, right, wifey?" Yin Mingran also stood up, walked to the door, and said, "Yes, you don't need to worry about that. It's what we should do." Then this. Bai Song raised his hand, presenting Yin Mingran's black gold card with both hands, hoping again that she would accept it. "Oh, right, I almost forgot." Yin Mingran took the card back. She hadn't actually forgotten. If Bai Song hadn't brought it over, she was planning not to take it. But since Bai Song had brought it back to her, she couldn't refuse it. Seeing Yin Mingran accept it, Bai Song breathed a sigh of relief. He'd been worried about what to do if Yin Mingran didn't want it. In that case, he definitely wouldn't let Manager Liu off the hook. He would have to make him bear the loss. "By the way, let me take you to the presidential suite. I'll have someone move your things over." Zhou Heng quickly stopped him, saying, Hey, no need. It's the same wherever we stay. Anyway, we're not here to just stay. We came for the hot springs. But the presidential suite is better. Huh? Aren't all hot springs the same? Can staying in the presidential suite and then go to a hot spring make you immortal?" Bai Song paused for a moment, then shook his head and explained, "No, it's that the presidential suite has its own private hot spring pool. You two can have some private time. No need to soak with other guests." "Oh." Bai Song's words made Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran's eyes light up. They exchanged a look. Honestly, they were really tempted. This. Seeing Zhou Heng hesitate, Bai Song's lips curved upwards, and he continued, "Come on, isn't coming out to play all about relaxing? This will also allow you to have a better date. Let's go, don't be polite." Ahem. Then, Zhou Heng glanced at Yin Mingran, pursed his lips, and then replied to Bai Song, "All right then, we'll trouble you. Consider it a favor we owe you." "Hey, no. This isn't a favor you owe me at all. This is to thank you. It's a favor I'm repaying." Bai Song's words made Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran hesitate no longer, and they gladly accepted Bai Song's suggestion. Just as Bai Song was about to call someone to move their luggage, a person walked past their room door. Seeing the two people inside the room, this person stopped at their doorway. This person was none other than Tong Yining. She had originally intended to wander around and see, not expecting to find Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran. But unexpectedly, their room door was open, and standing at the door was the young owner who had just reprimanded Manager Liu. The few of them stood there, looking at each other. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran didn't say anything, but quietly looked at Tong Yining, until Tong Yining spoke first. Yin Mingran. Zhou Heng, do you have a moment? I'd like to talk to you." Bai Song recognized who it was, and knew he couldn't stay here any longer, so he made an excuse. "Then I'll go arrange your room first. See you in a bit." After saying that, Bai Song turned and left. Tong Yining stayed, facing Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran. She was clearly a bit timid, even more scared than Zhou Heng had been in front of Manager Liu. Zhou Heng merely glanced at Tong Yining, said nothing, and turned to walk into the room. He knew very well that it wasn't his place to say anything in this kind of situation, so he completely ignored it, leaving it all to Yin Mingran. Seeing Zhou Heng turn and leave, Tong Yining's heart sank. She thought Zhou Heng still held a grudge and was unwilling to accept her. But Yin Mingran knew very well what Zhou Heng meant. She turned sideways, gestured towards the inside of the room, and said to Tong Yining, "Come in, let's talk inside." She knew that if Zhou Heng didn't want to talk, he would have refused directly. Turning away clearly meant he was letting her decide. He found it difficult to make this decision. Tong Yining was taken aback, not expecting Yin Mingran to invite her in. She was suddenly overjoyed, nodded happily, and followed her into the room. After entering the room, Tong Yining looked around, then sat down on a chair. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran sat on the sofa, leaning against each other, looking at Tong Yining, waiting for her to speak first. Tong Yining sat there, appearing particularly constrained and unnatural, her hands placed in front of her, unconsciously clenching, her fingertips turning white from the pressure. Long time no see. The last time we met was at the graduation reunion, right? It's been almost half a year." Tong Yining started with normal pleasantries because she didn't know what specifically to talk about. She could only start this way. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran exchanged a look. Then Yin Mingran looked at her and said, Yes, it's been a long time. I didn't expect to meet here again. It's quite a coincidence. Oh, where's your boyfriend? Yin Mingran then remembered. Wasn't Tong Yining here with her boyfriend? Why was she alone now, without her boyfriend? This boyfriend, to be honest, I still don't know him very well. I feel like we might not be suitable. When Tong Yining thought about Zhou Hongyu's actions earlier, she suddenly felt a bit disgusted. They hadn't been together long, and he had done something like that. This made her heart, which wasn't very fond of him to begin with, start to consider whether to continue the relationship. You got together without knowing him well? I thought you would know him extremely well and think it over repeatedly before deciding whether to date. Yin Mingran suddenly said something that left Tong Yining speechless. Tong Yining didn't know if Yin Mingran's words had a hidden meaning, but she had already connected them to past events. She had rejected Zhou Heng's confessions for a long time, initially giving him hope, making promises, and then in the end, getting impatient and repeatedly rejecting him. And now, she had quickly started dating someone she didn't know well. It was as if she simply looked down on Zhou Heng. Oh no, maybe it's me. I wasn't very serious. Only now do I realize he might not be my type. Tong Yining briefly explained, but in her heart, she knew she was in this relationship to pass the time and to help herself move on from the shadows of high school more quickly. After Tong Yining finished speaking, she saw Yin Mingran's expression change slightly. She suddenly became a little nervous, worried about what Yin Mingran might say next. But in reality, Yin Mingran didn't say anything more. She nodded and said softly, Oh, I see. Well, you can think about it carefully. If you don't like him, break up sooner rather than later to avoid hurting each other in the end. I will. Tong Yining took a deep breath, adjusted her mindset, and tried her best not to be so nervous. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to continue the conversation. All right, what did you want to talk about? Yin Mingran adjusted her posture, tilted her head to look at Tong Yining, her tone calm and gentle. In terms of temperament and presence, she unknowingly outshone Tong Yining. Tong Yining lowered her head slightly and said softly, It's just, I want to have a good talk with you, to see if we can still be friends. Friends? Yin Mingran and Zhou Heng exchanged a look, a hint of surprise in their eyes. They hadn't expected Tong Yining to want to talk about this. Yes, I feel like our relationship is a bit too stiff. We shouldn't have any deep-seated hatred, so I still want to be friends with you. Tong Yining's voice grew smaller and smaller. She was clearly losing confidence. Yin Mingran and Zhou Heng didn't answer immediately, looking at each other as if asking for the other's opinion. Yin Mingran understood the look in Zhou Heng's eyes. She knew he no longer held anything against Tong Yining. After all, so much time had passed. Zhou Heng felt he had everything. The happiness he found with Yin Mingran was more than enough to make him not care about the past. He had just pursued her for a long time, and she hadn't agreed, that was all. After that, they had no further interaction. He simply didn't want to have contact with her anymore. There really was no deep-seated hatred. Yin Mingran actually didn't care anymore either. When she broke off her friendship with Tong Yining back then, she later thought she had been a bit too emotional and extreme. At that time, she had already fallen for Zhou Heng. Breaking up with Tong Yining was partly due to this reason, because she liked Zhou Heng. Thinking about it now, she and Tong Yining had no enmity, not even a minor disagreement. Now it seemed they had been a bit too harsh on Tong Yining. Plus, she had a boyfriend now. Being friends with her wasn't a big deal, right? After a moment of silence, Yin Mingran slowly spoke. Of course, we can. We're all classmates, so being friends is normal. What happened in the past, it's all in the past. Really, are you willing? Tong Yining's eyes lit up instantly, and her lips curved into a smile. When she turned to look at Zhou Heng, he also nodded slightly, agreeing with Yin Mingran's statement. A joyful smile on her face, Tong Yining clasped her hands tightly and said earnestly, That's great. I sincerely wish you two the best. I hope you could be together forever, grow old together, really. I just want to be friends with you again. If you can let go of the past, that would be for the best. All right, I know. You don't need to be so worked up. You're right. We don't have any deep-seated hatred. Being friends is perfectly normal. Yin Mingran smiled helplessly and said lightly. She could feel that her state of mind had truly changed a lot. She had probably matured significantly, and her thoughts were somewhat different from before. Tong Yining looked at Zhou Heng again. She knew it was relatively easy for Yin Mingran to accept her, but she really had no confidence when it came to Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng, however, looked at her, nodded, and gently said, Just this simple reply made Tong Yining instantly happy. The corners of her eyes crinkled slightly, and she smiled sweetly. Okay, then I won't disturb you two anymore. We'll be in touch. Bye-bye. Tong Yining was also sensible and didn't continue to interrupt their date. She stood up and walked out the door without hesitation. Imengran also got up to see her off, said goodbye, and then closed the door. Sigh. I wonder what she was going to say. Turns out she's still thinking about these things. After Imengran came back, she sat next to Zhou Heng, leaned on his shoulder, and sighed. Zhou Heng nodded and muttered, She probably values you as a friend a lot. That's why she cares so much. You were quite decisive when you broke off your friendship with her. What was it for? I've forgotten. Nothing. I can't remember clearly either. Imengran quickly shook her head and said, Actually, she remembered what it was about. It was because Tong Yining had some bad ideas back then, wanting to harm Zhou Heng. And at that time, she had already fallen for Zhou Heng. So faced with Tong Yining's behavior, she was very angry and had argued with her. Thinking about it now, did this count as prioritizing romance over friendship? All right, let's not talk about this. Let's go. Baitsong sent me a message saying everything's arranged. Zhou Heng stood up, took Imengran's hand, and they walked out of the room together. Their luggage had already been taken upstairs by a bellboy. Arriving at the door of that room, Baitsong was standing there. The owner's son looked like a doorman at this moment, smiling as he welcomed them. When they walked over, he even opened the door for them personally. Please. Okay, thank you. Would you like to come in and sit for a while? Zhou Heng thanked him awkwardly and then invited him in. But how could Baitsong disturb the two of them? He quickly waved his hand and said, No, I should go back. I won't disturb you. If you need anything else, just let me know. Have fun, and then you can just leave when you're done. I've already arranged everything. They won't charge you a single penny, okay? It's not. Zhou Heng wanted to say more, but Baitsong didn't give him a chance. After speaking, he left. After the two entered the room, looking at the luxurious layout before them, they couldn't help but marvel. This must be the best room in the hotel. Everything was brand new, exuding an air of luxury. Zhou Heng and Imengran walked further in. There was a thin curtain. He pulled it open, and indeed, there was a hot spring pool, steaming, with vibrant flower petals floating in it. Around the pool were small tables laden with various red wines, foreign liquors, exquisite glassware, cigarettes, and cigars. Everything one could wish for. Above the hot spring pool was a vividly carved dragon head. There was a button by the pool. When pressed, warm spring water gushed from the dragon's mouth, starting the water circulation. There were also stone loungers in the pool, and in front was a large screen for playing movies and such. It could be said that it would indeed be a very romantic experience for the two of them to soak in the hot spring and date here. After Tong Yining left Zhou Heng and Imengran, she returned to her own room. Although she had come with Zhou Hongyu, they had booked 2 rooms. Tong Yining certainly wouldn't stay with Zhou Hongyu. She wasn't that casual. Staying together after only knowing each other for a month was progressing a bit too fast. In this month, she had only held hands with Zhou Hongyu. There had been no further intimacy. Tong Yining was still very happy. This trip had already satisfied her greatly. She had actually repaired her relationship with Zhou Heng and Imengran. This was like a knot in her heart that would occasionally come to mind and make her feel bad. Now that this knot was finally untied, she was very happy. Buzz buzz. Not long after Tong Yining sat down to rest, her phone received a message. She opened it and saw it was from Zhou Hongyu. Babe, want to go to the hot springs? I'll come pick you up. Seeing this message, Tong Yining couldn't help but frown. She remembered what had just happened. Zhou Hongyu's actions had really disappointed her. Even so, she hadn't gotten angry with him at the time, nor had she just left him. She had already given him a lot of face, making him think she might not care much. Now, he was acting as if nothing had happened and inviting her to the hot springs. Did he not even have that much self-awareness? Tong Yining sat there, looking at the message, feeling more and more uncomfortable the longer she looked. After a while, she finally replied, Zhou Hongyu, I think I should reconsider our relationship. We might not be suitable. What? Zhou Hongyu replied instantly, followed by several question marks, showing how confused he was. What did that mean? Even if he was stupid, he could understand, right? Didn't this mean she wanted to break up with him? I'm coming to find you right now. Let's talk properly, okay? Zhou Hongyu sent the message. When Tong Yining saw it, her delicate brows furrowed, and she felt a bit annoyed. What was the point of explaining to her at this time? It was too late. Why didn't he think about the consequences when he backstabbed her just now? Don't come. I don't want to talk about anything. I'm quite disappointed by your behavior. I don't like it. so let's just break up. Tong Yining replied, but she never received a response from him. After a while, Tong Yining suddenly heard a knock on the door. Bang, bang, babe. Open the door, it's me. Please open the door, okay? There must be some misunderstanding between us. Let me explain, okay? There's no misunderstanding. You don't need to explain. Just go, I've already told you we're breaking up. Tong Yining shouted at the door, feeling somewhat impatient. Why hadn't she realized before that Zhou Hongyu was such a difficult person? TSK. At this moment, Zhou Hongyu's clicking sound was heard, followed by the sound of a password being entered into the door lock. Tong Yining's eyes widened, her face full of horror, clearly looking startled. Did Zhou Hongyu know the password to her room? Beep, beep, beep. The sound of the password being entered was very smooth, not at all like random guessing. As if he knew it very well, Tong Yining instantly panicked. She didn't know how Zhou Hongyu knew her room password, but this truly sent shivers down her spine. What if he secretly came in while she was sleeping at night? Tong Yining stood up, took a few steps back, leaned against the window, and stared intently at the door. Ding, ding. Just then, the password entry was complete, and the door lock actually opened. Tong Yining's heart trembled uncontrollably. She hadn't expected Zhou Hongyu to really know her room password. If she hadn't discovered it now, he probably would have snuck in at night. When the door opened, Zhou Hongyu stood at the entrance, looking gravely into the room. He first glanced at the bed, then saw Tong Yining standing by the window, her face filled with terror. You, what are you doing? Tong Yining instinctively grabbed a nearby tissue box, holding it up and pointing it at Zhou Hongyu, intending to use it as a weapon for self-defense. Zhou Hongyu slowly approached, his eyes fixed on Tong Yining. Babe, please don't break up with me. Whatever I did wrong, I'll change it. Just don't break up with me, okay? Zhou Hongyu said softly, still tentatively approaching. He actually didn't dare to be too impulsive. Entering the room, without permission, was something he did out of desperation. He was just afraid of losing Tong Yining, so he had now revealed that he knew the room password. After entering, seeing Tong Yining so scared, he didn't dare to do anything too extreme, only daring to approach slowly. But Tong Yining was already terrified. She was so afraid of Zhou Hongyu doing something outrageous to her. As a girl, she definitely couldn't fight off a boy like Zhou Hongyu. Don't come any closer, or I'll scream for help. Tong Yining pointed at Zhou Hongyu, warning him loudly, trying to shout him away, but Zhou Hongyu wasn't planning to give up. He stopped about a meter away from Tong Yining, not daring to get any closer. He didn't want to ruin his relationship with Tong Yining either. I won't move, but can we talk properly? You suddenly want to break up with me. I don't understand. What exactly is the reason? We were fine when we were eating just now. Zhou Hongyu was completely bewildered about what was happening. Tong Yining had suddenly left when they were in the restaurant, and then, after coming back, she suddenly wanted to break up with him. This left him completely clueless. We're really not suitable. Let's just break up. After we break up, we can still be friends. If you act like this, we can't even be friends. Tong Yining didn't dare say anything too provocative either. She didn't state the reason for the breakup, only that they weren't suitable. She was afraid of saying the wrong thing and angering Zhou Hongyu. What exactly is the reason? Have you fallen for someone else? Zhou Hongyu frowned slightly, guessing a possibility. He felt that a sudden breakup must mean a third party was involved. But they were just eating. No one else had appeared. Besides them, there was the manager, and then Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran, that couple. It couldn't possibly be them. And then there was... Zhou Hongyu's eyes suddenly widened, a flash of surprise in them. He remembered that there was someone else at that time. The hotel owner, so young, so handsome, and rich. Simply perfect. No way could Tong Yining have fallen for the hotel owner. Would he even be interested in her? But if nothing had happened, she wouldn't suddenly say she wanted to break up, right? No wonder. Once a suspicion takes root, countless details seem to confirm it. Zhou Hongyu remembered that the owner had left first, letting the manager handle the matter, and then Tong Yining had followed suit and left without a word. Had he gone to meet privately then? Thinking of this, Zhou Hongyu's face turned ugly, and those wild thoughts kept surfacing in his mind. How could I have fallen for someone else? What are you thinking? I just feel that we're really not suitable. It's better if we just stay friends. It's that young owner of the hotel, right? I know everything. Zhou Hongyu's brows furrowed tightly as he shouted at Tong Yining. Tong Yining froze on the spot, blinked, her face full of confusion, not knowing what Zhou Hongyu was talking about. Seeing Tong Yining's reaction, Zhou Hongyu thought he had guessed correctly, leaving Tong Yining speechless. Just then, the voices of two people came from the corridor outside. Young Master Bai, are you going personally too? I can go alone, right? Nonsense. Doesn't this show more sincerity? Isn't it all because of you that the hotel almost lost face? I won't tell father about this. If there's a next time, even I won't be able to protect you. Yes, yes, yes. Young Masterby, thank you. The voices grew closer, drawing the attention of both Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu towards the door. The doors open. At this moment, two people appeared at the door. It was Manager Liu and Bai Song. Manager Liu was holding two exquisite gift boxes. They had come to apologize. This incident had greatly affected Tong Yining and Zhou Hongyu, so they had to handle it properly. Bai Song had also come along because he knew who Tong Yining was and knew she had a connection with Zhou Hong and Yin Mengran. He felt it was necessary for him to be there. Standing at the door, the four of them looked at each other somewhat awkwardly. Tong Yining didn't know what they were here for. Manager Liu and Bai Song thought they had come at an opportune time, as the couple was having private time in the room. But Zhou Hongyu, his mind was racing. He had just suspected Tong Yining and Bai Song's relationship, and now he saw Bai Song appear at the door, even carrying things. For the owner to come personally, what was he here for? Did he even need to think about it? Wasn't this suspicion confirmed? Right. I knew it. Tong Yining, you've latched onto a rich man, haven't you? You're really something. When we first got together, we talked about it. You clearly said you didn't care that much about the other person's status. And now you pull this stunt, huh? Zhou Hongyu pointed at Tong Yining, his face flushing red with anger, looking as if he was about to cry. This sentence stunned the other three people present. Tong Yining tilted her head, staring at him with a bewildered expression, and asked, "What are you talking about?" That sentence really fried Tong Yining's brain. What did he mean? She'd latched onto a rich man. Where's the rich man? How come she didn't know? And the rich man himself, Bai Song, was also completely bewildered. That guy just now, was he talking about him? He seemed to have pointed at him. What had he done now? How'd he get dragged into this? Fine. I get it. I'll leave, all right. I'll leave. Zhou Hongyu suddenly became somewhat exasperated. He knew he was no match for Bai Song in any aspect, so he didn't intend to fight for anything. He'd just consider himself betrayed. After speaking, Zhou Hongyu turned to leave. As he passed Bai Song, he intentionally or unintentionally bumped Bai Song's shoulder. Hiss. As a result, not only did he fail to budge Bai Song, but he also hurt his own shoulder. Zhou Hongyu hissed, clutching his shoulder, looking astonished, thinking this guy's bones are so hard. Then, he didn't dare to do anything else and left directly. Bai Song and Manager Liu turned their heads together, watching Zhou Hongyu leave, still not understanding what had happened. They were holding two gift boxes, one of which was for him. Didn't he want it? What was going on? Had the couple quarreled? Seeing Zhou Hongyu leave, Tong Yining breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, someone had come. Otherwise, she was really afraid of what Zhou Hongyu might do. Moreover, she couldn't continue to stay in this room. Zhou Hongyu knew the password. He could come in any time. But how did he know it? Could it be that when he helped her carry her luggage to the room, he secretly memorized the password when she entered it? That seemed to be the only possibility. She hadn't expected him to have such intentions. If not for this incident, she might have been in some danger tonight. Tong Yining walked forward, looking at Bai Song and Manager Liu in front of her, and said softly, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Bai Song was taken aback for a moment. Although he didn't know what exactly was going on, he still replied. Bai Song and Tong Yining looked at each other. When Tong Yining first saw Bai Song, she hadn't paid much attention to him. But now, seeing his face clearly, she hadn't expected this person to be so handsome. For a moment, she awkwardly avoided his gaze. Bai Song raised an eyebrow slightly, cleared his throat a little, and asked lightly, what exactly is the situation? Aren't you two a couple? Did you have a fight? It couldn't be because of the hotel, could it? If that's the case, then I have an obligation to take responsibility and compensate you. Bai Song's tone was very gentle, and his voice had a magnetic quality, sounding very steady. Upon hearing this, Tong Yining quickly waved her hands and explained, no. It's not the hotel's problem. It's a problem that existed between us. We've already broken up. He didn't agree, so he came to talk to me. I don't know when he memorized my room password and trespassed, which led to what just happened. Oh, I see. Such a thing actually happened. Then it's definitely not safe for you to continue staying here. Let me take you to a new room, better than this one. Consider it a small compensation for the hotel's security lapse. Bai Song nodded and said, this isn't very good, is it? Tong Yining hesitated for a moment. Although she said so, her heart was actually very tempted. After all, she had just decided to change rooms. Staying here was definitely dangerous, a safety hazard. Bai Song shook his head and said with a smile, there's nothing wrong with it. It's what we should do. Let me help you with your luggage. You can pack up first. It's not convenient for me to go in. Oh no, thank you. There's nothing in the room. You can come in. Tong Yining didn't know what to say for a moment, answering several things at once, and even unconsciously stepped aside, signaling that Bai Tsong could enter. Her mind didn't even know what it was thinking, nor why she was doing this. Bai Tsong smiled slightly at her and brushed past her. They were very close, and for a moment, Tong Yining's heart beat a little faster. Especially looking at Bai Tsong's smile, it was really a bit too hard to resist. After Bai Tsong entered the room, he looked around and saw Tong Yining's luggage, which wasn't open because she hadn't unpacked after arriving in the room before going to eat. Let me help you with that. Let's go. Bai Tsong directly picked up Tong Yining's luggage and was about to walk out. Tong Yining quickly stopped him. No need, no need. I'll do it. I'll do it myself. How could I trouble you, such a big boss? Don't be polite. Don't you know Zhou Heng too? I have a very good relationship with Zhou Heng, his friend of my friends. Don't be polite, Bai Tsong explained. And, at the same time, he deliberately tried to bring his relationship with Zhou Heng a little closer in his words. From Bai Tsong's perspective, he was shamelessly latching onto his connection with Zhou Heng. But from Tong Yining's point of view, Zhou Heng actually had such a good relationship with this owner. This wasn't just a simple friendship anymore. This attitude was simply too good. All right then. Actually, Zhou Heng and our relationship is actually maybe not that good. To him, we might not even be considered friends. My relationship with his girlfriend, Yin Mingran, is still okay. Tong Yining explained. She didn't want to use Zhou Heng's influence for anything, so she explained it clearly to Bai Tsong, lest he mention it to Zhou Heng and make Zhou Heng unhappy. As it turned out, this kind of thing was nothing to Bai Tsong. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran, weren't they the same? What difference did it make which connection he used? I see. My relationship with Yin Mingran is also pretty good. Yes, it's all right. Of course, I have to take good care of her friends. You can rest assured about that. Bai Tsong didn't dare to say how good his relationship with Yin Mingran was. If Tong Yining told Zhou Heng, he'd be dead. Well, okay then. Let's go. Bai Tsong carried Tong Yining's suitcase and walked out of the room. Tong Yining quickly followed, walking behind Bai Tsong, her head lowered, still a little embarrassed. A tall, handsome, and rich boss helping her carry her luggage. She had never experienced anything like this before. The two of them brushed past Manager Liu. Manager Liu didn't dare to say a word, watching them leave, but his mind was filled with thoughts. Young Master Bai is targeting her, but can this girl handle Young Master Bai's SP? Special characteristics. If she knew Young Master Bai also likes men, I wonder if she could accept it. After all, Young Master Bai is bisexual, plays for both teams. In the evening, Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran had dinner in their hotel room. It was already past 10 o'clock. The two of them leaned against each other on the sofa, watching a movie playing in front of them, enjoying their time together. Yin Mingran turned her head, looked at Zhou Heng's profile, and said softly, "Hubby, let's not play for too long. We should go back to study soon. I'm afraid I'll fall behind in my studies." Although Yin Mingran enjoyed relaxing with Zhou Heng, she knew this kind of time couldn't last long. They still had important tasks. Zhou Heng also understood this. He opened his arms and embraced Yin Mingran, saying softly, I know. Shall we go back tomorrow then? Or, if you want to go play somewhere else, that's fine too. Actually, he wasn't particularly interested in playing outside. He mainly wanted to spend time with Yin Mingran. After being in university for so long and focusing on his studies, he felt he owed Yin Mingran a lot. No need, let's just go back. Okay. Zhou Heng nodded in agreement. Then, he stood up, picked Yin Mingran up, and walked toward the large bed in the room. For them, this was the best way to relax. After a delightful night of activity, it was the next day. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran packed their luggage and prepared to leave, heading back to school. Apart from the minor incident, they had a pretty good time, especially the private hot spring they enjoyed. Very romantic, very relaxing. As soon as the two of them stepped out of their room, a bellboy quickly came over to help them with their luggage and escorted them into the elevator. Arriving at the hotel lobby, they had intended to check out and leave directly, but at the counter, they saw a familiar figure. That looks like Tong Yining's boyfriend, right? Why is he alone? Zhou Heng recognized the person. It was indeed Tong Yining's boyfriend, Zhou Heng Yu. But at this moment, he was alone, and his expression didn't look too good. Could it be that he broke up with Tong Yining? Yesterday, she seemed to say that she and her boyfriend weren't very compatible. Yin Mingran guessed. She thought it was very possible. While they were standing there thinking, Zhou Heng Yu turned his head and happened to see Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran standing there. Upon seeing them, Zhou Hongyu's eyes widened instantly, and he strode towards them. Zhou Hong immediately stepped in front of Yin Mingran, afraid that Zhou Hongyu might do something rash. However, Zhou Hongyu stopped right in front of them. His previously unpleasant expression had softened considerably, and a hint of grievance was added. "You're Tong Yining's friends, right? Can you help me? She's been stolen away." Zhou Hongyu stammered, his voice even carrying a hint of a sob, as if he had suffered a great injustice. Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran were stunned by this scene, not knowing what had happened. They thought Tong Yining had broken up with him, but now it had turned into her being stolen away. Stolen by whom? Zhou Hong frowned, asking in confusion. He even suspected if Tong Yining had been kidnapped. When Zhou Hongyu recalled yesterday's events, he gritted his teeth in anger. He and Tong Yining had been together for a month, but there had been no progress. He had finally managed to invite her out to play this time, feeling it was a great opportunity to advance their relationship. But not only did he fail to seize the opportunity, his girlfriend was even stolen. This was truly maximizing his losses. After collecting his thoughts, Zhou Hongyu looked at Zhou Hong before him and slowly said, "It was by the hotel owner. I know he's your friend, tall, handsome, and rich. But he can't just steal other people's girlfriends, can he?" Huh? Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran's eyes widened instantly. They exchanged a look, their eyes filled with surprise. The hotel owner? He must be talking about Baitsong. Baitsong stole Tong Yining? What was going on? No. What do you mean? Yin Mingran blinked and asked. Then, Zhou Hongyu told Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran what had happened yesterday. After listening, both Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran couldn't help but frown. What Zhou Hongyu was saying seemed a bit off. Baitsong had left the restaurant and gone to find them, and so had Tong Yining. The two had merely crossed paths, without any interaction. How had it now become Tong Yining being stolen by Baitsong? There must be a misunderstanding. No, listen to me. Things are definitely not as you think. Yesterday, both of them came to find us. It wasn't like they met privately, as you said. Yin Mingran quickly explained. She felt this was just a small misunderstanding. Such a thing couldn't possibly happen. Really? Is it true? Hearing Yin Mingran's explanation, Zhou Hongyu was taken aback, his mind buzzing. Yin Mingran nodded and replied, "Of course, it's true. But how could you lose your temper with her over such an impossible little thing? Don't you even have that much trust?" Zhou Hongyu was somewhat incredulous, his face full of surprise and astonishment. "You mean, I misunderstood Tong Yining? Then why did she break up with me? Wasn't it because she fell for someone else?" Zhou Hong frowned, stared at him, and said irritably, "What are you talking about? Why did she break up with you? Why don't you look for the reason in yourself? Me? Is it my fault? I never thought about that." Zhou Hong shrugged, waved his hand, and said, "You tell me. And how could you misunderstand something like this? Even thinking with your toes, you'd know it's absolutely impossible, right? You really have a wild imagination." "So, it was like that. Then I need to find her. I need to apologize to her. Maybe there's still a chance to reconcile." Zhou Hongyu nodded silently, believing what the two of them said. Thinking about how he had stormed off yesterday, he must have hurt Tong Yining deeply. He had to go apologize to her. Zhou Hongyu quickly turned around and started walking in the opposite direction. But just as he took a step, he looked up and saw two people approaching. Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran also saw the two people ahead, and their expressions changed instantly. Those two were Baitsong and Tong Yining. They were walking side by side at this moment, and Baitsong was holding Tong Yining's hand. The sight of them talking and laughing was taken in by the three. Zhou Hongyu was completely dumbfounded, his heart feeling as if it were being crushed by an invisible boulder. His mouth trembled incessantly, his mind a complete blank. The glimmer of hope that had just been ignited, the sliver of dumb luck he had been clinging to, vanished without a trace in this instant. Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran sucked in a sharp breath. They hadn't expected those two to actually be involved. They had just defended them to Zhou Hongyu, only to be proven wrong so quickly. Let's go, it's none of our business." Zhou Hong quickly grabbed Yin Mingran's hand and hurriedly led her away. They didn't want to get involved in this matter. And then I told him, "Why are you acting like a rebellious son, opposing me at every turn? Ha, you're so interesting when you talk." Tong Yining covered her mouth, the corners of her eyes crinkling. She was very happy listening to Baitsong, giggling at his jokes. After walking a few steps, they noticed someone in front of them. They turned their heads, and upon seeing Zhou Hongyu, instantly froze, standing rooted to the spot. Zhou Hongyu's face was icy, his gaze directed downwards, staring at their interlocked hands. Tong Yining realized something and looked at her hand being held by Bai Song, subconsciously wanting to pull away. But Bai Song's hand suddenly tightened, gripping Tong Yining's hand firmly, not allowing her to break free. Zhou Hongyu slowly spoke, his voice cold, just as I guessed. Still trying to deny it yesterday. Was that fun? Tong Yining was speechless for a moment. Indeed, nothing had happened yesterday. Zhou Hongyu had misunderstood. But now, it seemed she had made the misunderstanding a reality. How could she have imagined she would get involved with Bai Song? Bai Song, as if stepping forward to protect Tong Yining, stared into Zhou Hongyu's eyes and said faintly, I only started interacting with Tong Tong after you left yesterday. It's not what you think. I don't know what exactly happened. I only know she moved on pretty quickly. Zhou Hongyu shot him a glare and said irritably, anyone in this situation would feel bad. One day, she was his girlfriend. The next day, she was holding someone else's hand. Tong Yining was also extremely embarrassed. She knew Zhou Hongyu was right. She had indeed moved on too quickly. It was practically a seamless transition. How shameless must she be? That has nothing to do with you, does it? She officially broke up with you. No one ever stipulated how long one has to wait after a breakup before starting a new relationship. So, she's not at fault at all. If you have a problem, direct it at me, not her. Bai Song replied, his words firm and justified. Tong Yining was stunned, looking up at Bai Song's profile. Seeing his determined gaze, Tong Yining's heart suddenly quickened. At this moment, her eyes looking at Bai Song seemed to sparkle. This was what she liked. This was the kind of guy who made her heart flutter. If only Zhou Hongyu had stood up like this yesterday, protected her, acted like a man, and taken responsibility, she wouldn't have been so disappointed in him. Okay, fine. Zhou Hongyu was momentarily intimidated by Bai Song's aura. He said this, but his voice was very small. After all, how could he dare to lose his temper with Bai Song? He had to consider the other's status, and whose territory this was. Zhou Hongyu turned his head, wanted to call Zhou Hong over to see if this person was being reasonable or not. But when he looked back, there was no one behind him. Zhou Hong and Yiming Gran had left at some unknown time. TSK. Seeing that he had no backup, Zhou Hongyu didn't dare to stay any longer. He was unwilling, but he still wanted to leave the hotel safely. So he picked up his things and quickly left. Seeing Zhou Hongyu leave, Bai Song turned to Tong Yining, smiled at her, and said softly, It's all right now. Shall I take you? Oh, okay. Tong Yining snapped back to her senses and nodded dazedly. She couldn't see her own face, but a faint blush had already spread across it. Bai Song drove Tong Yining back to her school and parked the car at the school gate. Tong Yining got out with her things, stood there, waved at Bai Song, and said softly, bye-bye. She hadn't quite come out of that feeling yet. Her voice was light and airy, and her mind was a bit muddled. After speaking, she turned with her things to walk into the school. Just as she took 2 steps, Bai Song called out from behind her, Tong, wait a minute. What's wrong? Tong Yining turned back to look at Bai Song. She saw Bai Song holding his phone, shaking it, and saying with a smile, Did you forget something? How am I supposed to contact you next time? Oh right. Only then did Tong Yining remember that she and Bai Song didn't have each other's contact information. But Bai Song actually remembered and even proactively asked for it. Did that mean the two of them really had a chance? After adding each other as friends, they officially parted ways. Tong Yining returned to school, and Bai Song also prepared to head back to his school. After driving for some time, he arrived back at Dongji University. However, just as he got out of the car, he received a call from Yu Lingxue. Hello, what's up? I sent you the location. Come over, I need to talk to you about something. All right. Bai Song was a bit puzzled and muttered to himself, but he didn't ask what it was about. He followed the location Yu Lingxue sent and soon found it. From afar, he saw 2 people standing under a large tree not far away, Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue. A sense of foreboding rose in Bai Song's heart. He quickly walked over and greeted them. What's wrong, Sister Tang? Why are you looking for me? The two of them stared at Bai Song for a few seconds. Tang Ji spoke first, asking, Are you with Tong Yining? After Zhou Hong and Yiming Gran returned, they had told Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue about this, which greatly surprised them. After all, they knew Bai Song's secret. Didn't he like men? How did he get involved with Tong Yining? Oh, her. No, I'm not. By the way, how did you guys know? Bai Song was taken aback, answered the question, and then felt a bit puzzled. Yu Lingxue frowned, took 2 steps forward, and questioned, Really? Are you sure? You're not lying. Bai Song was forced back a few steps, shook his head, and said, No, I'm not with her. I just held her hand, I guess. Just fooling around, that's all. What fooling around? Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue were somewhat exasperated, exchanging a glance. They had originally wanted to ask Bai Song what tricks he was playing, but he actually said he was just fooling around, and it didn't even look like he was lying. He actually had such thoughts? And wasn't he into men? How did he get involved with Tong eating? If there's nothing else, I'll be going then. I still have things to do. Bai Song felt he couldn't stay here any longer. The two of them seemed like they were trying to dig out all his secrets. So he made a random excuse and left. Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue didn't stop him, but they were extremely surprised. At this moment, at the school gate, a car was parked steadily by the roadside. Sitting in the car was Jingyu, who had been away from school for many days. She had taken leave for a few days due to work reasons. This was a job she couldn't refuse, otherwise she would have preferred to focus on her studies and not take leave. Jingyu didn't get out of the car immediately. Instead, she sat in the back, looking into the school, lost in thought. She looked like she hadn't rested well these past few days, appearing somewhat haggard and listless, as if something was troubling her. Beside Jingyu sat a man, working on a laptop, wearing glasses, looking very serious. This person was Jingyu's manager, Gubo. Beyond that, they had an even deeper relationship. Jingyu turned to look at Gubo, sighed, and said softly, "Uncle, can't we just not compete for it this time? I want to study properly. I want to stop working temporarily." Gubo's eyes were fixed on the screen, typing on the keyboard, ignoring Jingyu's words. Jingyu didn't say anything more, just waited for Gubo to finish his work. After about 10 minutes, Gubo finally closed his laptop, turned to look at Jingyu, his eyes sharp, his brow slightly furrowed. "Xiaoyu, I've pushed off all the other jobs I could for you. But this opportunity, you must seize it. It's not just about making money. It will also be a huge help to your future. You know the influence of Junheng without me telling you, right?" Gubo's tone was calm, but there was an underlying authority in his calmness, as if he were stating an undeniable fact. Jingyu sighed. Of course, she knew Junheng's influence. That's why this would be an incredibly fierce competition. Junheng had an upcoming event that was receiving a lot of attention, its popularity already exploding on the official website. This event also required models to attend and serve as image ambassadors. However, the candidate had not yet been decided, which attracted countless models to sign up, all claiming they would do it for free, offering themselves up, just hoping to use Junheng's influence to get a good wave of publicity. If successful, it would be a meteoric rise, quickly going viral online. Jingyu's company, of course, had to participate in this competition. They couldn't give up this opportunity. So Jingyu became the sole candidate. The official registration had already been done, but no one would be foolish enough to just wait for the notification of the registration results. Most people had started to use their connections, trying to pull strings. Even Junheng's security guards had been approached, but they couldn't do much. For something like this, one would need connections at least at the supervisor level to have any effect. But those high-level executives wouldn't risk helping. Junheng's rules were very strict. If anyone made a mistake, they would receive corresponding punishment. "Then, Uncle, what do you want me to do? I don't know any important people, and I can't help much, can I?" Jingyu knew she couldn't refuse this job. She had to participate in this brutal competition. But she was, after all, a university student, in her early 20s, inexperienced with society, unfamiliar with its ways, and without any helpful connections. This was what troubled her. "You're studying at Dongji University. That's your advantage. Dongji University and Junheng have a very close relationship. There's even the famous Junheng Tower on campus. There must be people in Junheng Tower who can help. Think of a way to build good relationships with those people. Whatever help you need, the company will fully support you." No, Uncle, how could I possibly build good relationships with them? Those people, they all have complicated backgrounds. My social skills aren't strong, and even if I did build a good relationship, they probably couldn't help. This event is completely unrelated to them. Jingyu looked defeated, spread her hands, appearing helpless. She felt the company was making things difficult for her. This was a completely impossible task, yet they assigned it to her. "I know your difficulties. Even if we can just find out some inside information about this event, we'll have an advantage. Just do your best. If you succeed this time, you'll be one in the company, and no one will look down on you anymore." Gubo softened his tone, offering a few words of comfort to Jingyu, which made her feel much better. "I understand. I'll do my best." Jingyu nodded and agreed. Since she couldn't refuse, she could only accept it. Anyway, there was still a month until the event, and the results would be out half a month beforehand. She still had half a month to work hard. There should be some progress, right? "I'm good. Go on then. Call me if anything comes up." "Got it, Uncle." Jingyu got out of the car, took her things, and entered the school. People in the school had already gotten used to Jingyu's presence and wouldn't shout and scream like before. Occasionally, when they met Jingyu on campus, they would proactively ask for a photo or an autograph. Jingyu also responded positively and got along well with her classmates. Sigh, who can help? Who can possibly help? Trying to get connected with Junhong is such a difficult thing. Jingyu suddenly stopped in her tracks, looked up, her eyes widening in surprise. A person had just come to her mind. She knew this person, and this person seemed to have a close relationship with Junhong. What was his name? Oh, right, Baitsong, Zhou Heng's friend. Last time, at Imingran's birthday, he was there too. He seemed to say his father is a vice president at Junhong. That's right. Isn't he the best connection? But I don't know him. How can I get in touch with him? Jingyu began to think. After thinking for a long time, she felt the best way was probably through Zhou Hong as an intermediary. She could only find Zhou Hong and then ask him to introduce her to this Baitsong person. Zhou Hong and Imingran seem very busy. I haven't seen them for a long time. They seem to be attending classes in the Junhong Tower. Jingyu knew she and Zhou Heng's group were classmates, but seemed they had never attended classes in their regular classroom. She had asked Tang Ji why before, and Tang Ji only said that the two of them were a bit special and couldn't attend classes with them. She hadn't asked further at the time, just thinking it was probably their privacy. Jingyu took out her phone, scrolled through it, and found Imingran's contact. Although they were friends, they had never chatted. Jingyu felt embarrassed to approach Imingran, and Imingran had never approached her either. So she thought, would it be a bit inappropriate to suddenly contact her now? Perhaps she should first invite them both out for a meal, have a good chat, and when the time was right, ask them to introduce her to Baitsong. After hesitating for a moment, Jingyu finally sent a message to Imingran, asking if she had time. Jingyu waited in place for nearly 10 minutes, but received no reply from Imingran. So she decided not to wait foolishly any longer. It was better to go back to the dormitory first. It was still a bit cold outside. Jingyu returned to her dormitory with her luggage. Inside, Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue were both there playing games. Yu Lingxue had now been influenced by Tang Ji to the point where, apart from classes, she spent all her time gaming. Hi, I'm back. Jingyu walked into the dormitory and greeted them. They both looked up at Jingyu for a moment, then continued to immerse themselves in their game, saying, you're back. You seem to have been gone for about half a month. I copied the notes for you. You could just take them later. Thanks. Jingyu chuckled, then took out 2 souvenirs from her luggage. Here, these are for you. I'll put them on the table. You can look at them after you finish your game. Okay, thanks. The 3 of them had a pretty good relationship, having lived together in the dormitory for several months. Jingyu sat at her desk, took out her phone, and glanced at it. Half an hour had passed, and there was still no reply from Imingran. Have you guys been in contact with Imingran and the others recently? Jingyu couldn't help but look up and ask. She wanted to know if Imingran was intentionally ignoring her. Had she done something to make Imingran unhappy? Tang Ji looked up at Jingyu and said, no, those 2 are very busy. They usually don't even have time to look at their phones. If you want to find them, you can only go to the Junhong Tower. They don't check their phones at all. So busy? What were they busy with? Jingyu muttered softly. She had thought Zhou Hong and Imingran were just attending classes in a different place. Now it seemed their situation was more special than she had imagined. Well, people who were picked up by Professor Han with a sign on the first day of school were definitely not simple characters. Otherwise, they wouldn't know someone like Baitsong. Perhaps Zhou Heng's family also had a strong background and were very wealthy. So, I can only go to Junhong Tower? Have you guys gone to find them? Yes, we have. After you go in, just take the elevator directly to the top floor, and you'll find them. Oh, okay. After getting the answer, Jingyu thought about giving it a try to see if she could find Zhou Hong and the others. Jingyu left the dormitory and headed towards Junhong Tower. Looking at the most famous building on campus, a trace of timidity surfaced in her heart. It felt like a place where geniuses gathered. Just walking in required a lot of courage. Jingyu arrived at the entrance of the building, hesitated for a moment, took a few deep breaths, and then stepped inside. As soon as she walked in, the security guard at the entrance focused his gaze on Jingyu, squinting and staring for a moment. You're not from this building, are you? Who are you looking for? I'm looking for Zhou Hong and Imingran. Do you know them? Jingyu asked softly. She didn't know if she could even get in. If she couldn't, it would be a wasted trip. Upon hearing their names, the security guard's eyes lit up. His expression immediately changed, and he nodded, saying, Oh, I see. You're their friend, right? Go on in. Thank you. Jingyu was somewhat surprised. She hadn't expected to actually be allowed in. Even the security guards knew Zhou Heng and the others. It seemed they were quite famous here. After Jingyu went in, she thought about finding the elevator to go to the top floor. At the elevator entrance, she saw a few students also waiting for the elevator. When they saw Jingyu, they looked her up and down, pointed at her, and asked, "Hey, you look like that model Jingyu, right? Are you?" Yes, it's me." Jingyu nodded awkwardly. Although being recognized outside was common, she didn't want to be recognized inside Junheng Tower. It felt a little embarrassing. "It really is you? Wow, I've seen a live celebrity. What are you doing here?" The student's reaction seemed a bit surprised, yet not overly so. "I'm here to find friends," Jingyu replied simply. Just then, the elevator arrived. The doors opened, and they all walked in. Jingyu directly pressed the button for the top floor. "You're going to the top floor? Are your friends Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran?" Seeing Jingyu go to the top floor, those students were somewhat surprised, even more so than before. "Ah, you know them too?" Jingyu was even more surprised, stammering. "Of course. There's no one in this building who doesn't know those two." "Ah, is that so?" Jingyu's heart was a little shaken. So Zhou Heng and the others were this famous here. After reaching the top floor, the elevator door got stuck for a moment before slowly opening. Jingyu didn't pay it any mind and walked out. The top floor was very quiet, with no one in sight. Several doors were tightly closed. Jingyu stood there, somewhat at a loss. Where should she go to find Zhou Heng and the others? She paused at each door for a few seconds, carefully listening for any sound from inside, but it seemed very quiet, with no sounds coming through. Click! Just then, a door at the end opened, and a man walked out. Seeing this person, Jingyu was immediately so frightened that her whole body trembled, and she stood up straight. Wasn't this person Professor Han Wanqi? Han Wanqi saw someone ahead, looked up, and after seeing Jingyu, he paused for a few seconds, then asked faintly, "Who are you looking for?" Professor Han. Hello, I'm here to find Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran." Jingyu replied softly. Facing Han Wanqi, she still felt very nervous. When she got into Dongji University, she had thought about working hard to enter Junheng Tower to study, so making a good impression on Han Wanqi was very necessary. "Ah, is that so? Then you'll have to wait a little longer. They're in class, and there's still an hour before it ends." Han Wanqi glanced at the watch on his wrist and said indifferently, then walked forward and left, ignoring Jingyu. It was also the first time Jingyu had experienced such a cold attitude. However, on careful thought, he indeed had the right to be so. His research achievements had made outstanding contributions to the entire country and had won awards. In front of him, she was just an ordinary student, nothing special. "Okay, all right. Thank you, Professor Han." Jingyu respectfully saw Han Wanqi off, then stood there alone, waiting quietly, even though she didn't know where Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran were having class. Time passed bit by bit. After about an hour, a door at the end of the corridor suddenly opened, and a professor walked out, instructing someone behind him, "Please don't forget to do the homework. Based on your homework completion, I can reasonably arrange this week's weekly test." After giving the instructions, he quickly left. Jingyu watched the open door, but no one else came out. She took a step, tentatively walked over, and cautiously poked her head in, looking at the situation inside the classroom. The classroom was very large, with a lot of teaching equipment, but there were only 2 desks. Sitting there were Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran. At this moment, Yi Mingran was still perfecting her notes, sitting upright and writing something seriously, while Zhou Heng looked as if he was exhausted to the point of collapse, slumped over the desk, his head turned, watching Yi Mingran's serious expression in a daze. "Hubby, I've taken good notes for you. Just go back and do the homework according to my annotations." Yi Mingran closed her notebook and smiled sweetly at Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng looked very tired, but he knew very well that Yi Mingran was the most tired. She had already put in a lot of effort to make things easier for him. "Okay, thank you for your hard work, wifey." Wifey hugged. Zhou Heng, as if acting coquettishly, sat up, opened his arms, asking for Yi Mingran's hug. Yi Mingran had a doting look on her face, smiled faintly, stood up, walked over, and hugged Zhou Heng. All right. Hubby hug." Jingyu was peeking from the doorway, a faint blush instantly spreading across her cheeks. Although she knew Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran were very much in love, seeing their public display of affection still made her blush uncontrollably. Because she had never experienced such a thing, it was still a little stimulating for her. Yi Mingran heard the slight movement and looked up towards the door, her eyes meeting Jingyu's blushing face. Jingyu? Is it you? Why are you here?" Yi Mingran's eyes widened in pleasant surprise. She stood up and walked towards the door. Zhou Heng also turned his head in confusion, looking towards the door. When he saw Jingyu, he frowned slightly, but it quickly smoothed out. Ah, I just wanted to come see you guys. After all, it's been a long time. Jingyu walked out awkwardly, scratching her head. She had just walked in on their intimate moment. How embarrassing. Is that so? Come in and sit for a while. It really has been a long time. I heard you went to work and took a long break. Min Gran warmly received Jingyu, got her a chair, and let her sit down. Zhou Heng didn't plan to participate in their conversation, letting the two girls chat. He opened his notebook and started reviewing. Jingyu actually really wanted Zhou Heng to join the chat. After all, she needed to ask Zhou Heng to introduce her to Bai Tsang. So, you've been having classes here all along. It must be so tough. Jingyu didn't know how to describe her current feelings. Zhou Heng and Min Gran were actually on the top floor of Junheng Tower, in a private classroom, with a professor teaching them individually. This wasn't just simple class, was it? This must be some kind of perfect genius cultivation plan. It was hard to imagine what Zhou Heng and Min Gran would become. They would surely be all-around talents. Indeed, the studies are very demanding. We don't have breaks. We study from 8 in the morning until 8 at night every day. Each class is 2 hours long, with only a 20-minute break in between. So tiring? No rest at all. Jingyu was shocked. She had originally wanted to invite them out for dinner, but hearing they had no rest time, how could she invite them? Generally, there's no rest. If we're particularly tired, we can ask for leave. We just took a few days off to go out and play, and we haven't been back long. Is that so? Actually, I was thinking of inviting you to dinner, but since you're so busy and tired, it's probably better for you to rest during your free time. Jingyu said her thoughts softly, no longer holding out much hope. Their relationship probably wasn't close enough for them to drag their tired bodies to dinner with her. Is that so? Min Gran turned to look at Zhou Heng, silent for a few seconds, as if pondering something. Zhou Heng also looked up understandingly, meeting Min Gran's gaze. They blinked, then nodded, seemingly having reached a consensus. Then, Min Gran looked at Jingyu and replied, "Sure, no problem, but you'll have to wait until after our class ends at 8 tonight. Will that be too late?" Really? You're willing? Not late at all. I can wait. Jingyu's eyes widened in surprise, and she replied happily, as if afraid they would change their minds. She hadn't expected Min Gran and the others to actually agree. Did she still hold some place in their hearts? Min Gran and Zhou Heng's thoughts were rather simple. Jingyu had some capabilities. She wasn't an ordinary person. For such a person, they were naturally willing to improve their relationship, have a meal together, chat, and so on. It wasn't a big deal. What if they needed Jingyu's help in the future? The two of them were gradually maturing in their thinking, slowly starting to consider their future. In the evening, around 8 o'clock, Jingyu left her dormitory, preparing to go to Junheng Tower to find Zhou Heng and Min Gran. She had carefully dressed herself up. As a model, she could dress beautifully even in winter, which showed she attached great importance to this dinner. She already considered it an important business dinner, not just a simple meal between classmates. She had to find a way to make some progress with her plan so she could report back to her company. Right now, she couldn't do as she pleased. She could only obediently listen to the company. When she was strong enough, she could live according to her own wishes, whether it was studying peacefully or making all sorts of friends. Jingyu arrived at Junheng Tower. The security guard already recognized her and let her pass. At this time, there weren't many people in the building. Most students had already gone back to rest, and some lights were turned off, making it look a bit dim. Jingyu took the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor. As the elevator doors closed, the elevator didn't immediately go up. Jingyu was a bit surprised and pressed it again. After a while, the elevator slowly ascended, but it was occasionally accompanied by clanging sounds. Jingyu frowned slightly, but didn't pay too much attention. The elevator soon reached the top floor, and the doors slowly opened. When she stepped out of the elevator, she saw Zhou Heng and Min Gran walking out of the classroom, looking very tired, stretching lazily. Hi, you two. Seeing this, Jingyu felt a bit embarrassed to ask them to dinner. They looked really tired sitting there studying all day. Zhou Heng and Min Gran heard Jingyu's voice, looked up at her, and greeted her with a smile. Hi, you're here. Could you wait a moment? Look how beautifully you're dressed. We'd like to freshen up too. Min Gran looked Jingyu up and down, then secretly nudged Zhou Heng with her elbow. Zhou Heng immediately understood. They both realized this wasn't just a simple dinner. She seemed to have something she wanted to tell them. Of course, no problem, no rush. Jingyu certainly didn't mind them going to freshen up. Anyway, she had already waited this long. Waiting a bit longer was worth it. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran indeed didn't look their best. They had to go back and tidy up before going out. Sitting and studying all day was very brain-draining, especially for Zhou Heng, who felt his eyes were bloodshot and his hair was oily. The two went back to their room, planning to freshen up quickly so as not to keep her waiting too long. After about 20 minutes, they were done. It was already 8:30. They came out and saw Jing Yu still waiting there obediently, with no sign of impatience on her face. "Sorry, we kept you waiting." Yin Mingran walked over, smiled slightly, and said to her, No, it's okay." Jing Yu waved her hand, not minding at all. As long as they could accept the invitation, she didn't care how long she had to wait. "Let's go, where are we heading?" "Well, I've booked a place. It's not too high-end, in case you don't like it. Is that okay?" "Of course, we don't like those kinds of places. An ordinary place is fine." The three of them walked into the elevator, preparing to go down. As the elevator doors slowly closed, Zhou Heng pressed the button for the first floor. After a few seconds, the elevator still hadn't moved. This puzzled Zhou Heng, and he pressed it a few more times. Clack, clack. Suddenly, the elevator made a series of noises. What's wrong?" Jing Yu and Yin Mingran were startled. Yin Mingran even directly grabbed Zhou Heng's arm, exclaiming. Zhou Heng frowned tightly, a bad feeling rising. He quickly pressed the elevator's open door button. Boom! Swish! With a louder noise, the next second, the elevator actually began to descend rapidly. Yin Mingran and Jing Yu screamed in fright. Zhou Heng reacted quickly, clenching his teeth. He steadied Yin Mingran with one hand and quickly pressed the alarm button with the other, then proceeded to press every floor button, lighting them all up. Seeing it was useless, and the elevator was still rapidly descending, Zhou Heng quickly half-squatted, pressing himself against the elevator wall, then directly hugged Yin Mingran, making her sit on his lap. This way, when the elevator fell, Yin Mingran wouldn't be hurt, with him cushioning her from below. "Wifey," Zhou Heng called out, then pointed to Jing Yu opposite them. He had settled Yin Mingran, but he couldn't just ignore Jing Yu. Yin Mingran also reacted, pulling Jing Yu to her side, pressing her body down to cushion much of the impact during the fall. As the elevator descended from the top floor to the middle, it suddenly slowed down. Finally, between the third and fourth floors, with a clang, the elevator got stuck. Zzz, the lights inside the elevator also broke, plunging them into instant darkness. The elevator was slightly tilted, seemingly stuck in the elevator shaft. Ouch! The sudden stop made Jing Yu fall on her bottom, and she sucked in a sharp breath from the pain, while Yin Mingran was completely fine, sitting securely in Zhou Heng's arms. "Are you okay, wifey?" Even so, Zhou Heng was still concerned about Yin Mingran's condition. After confirming Yin Mingran was fine, Zhou Heng stood up and began to examine what was wrong with the elevator. Why did it suddenly malfunction and plummet? And why did it have to happen to them? Such bad luck. Being stuck here, it could fall at any moment. It was still very dangerous. The alarm button had been pressed, so someone should be here soon. Their phones had no signal in the elevator, so they couldn't call for help. Han Wenshi returned from outside and saw many people gathered around the elevator entrance, with security guards also joining the crowd. He frowned, walked over, and asked, "What's going on?" One person turned around, saw Han Wenshi, and replied, Professor Han, it seems the elevator had an accident. It looks like it fell from the top floor and is now stuck in the elevator shaft. There seem to be a few people trapped inside." "Accident? How could this happen?" "Wait, what did you say? From the top floor?" "There are people in the elevator right now." Han Wenshi suddenly realized something, grabbed the person's collar, and shouted excitedly. Yes, yes, TSK. Han Wenshi clicked his tongue, a bitter expression on his face, pointed at the elevator, and shouted, "Quickly call people to fix it and ensure the safety of the people inside. I'm going to find the principal." After about half an hour, there was still no sign of the elevator being repaired. This wasn't a simple malfunction. Ensuring safety required extreme caution. Inside the elevator, the three were still trapped. Their phones had no signal, and it was obvious that the oxygen levels were gradually decreasing. At the same time, all three were wearing winter clothes, making it particularly stiflingly hot. Phew! Yin Mingran exhaled, visible beads of sweat on her forehead. She had already taken off her coat, but still felt very hot, frequently tugging at her collar. Jing Yu was the same. Although she wasn't wearing overly thick clothes, it was winter and her clothes were quite warm. Now, in this elevator, she was so hot, she didn't even want to talk much. Zhou Heng was even more so. His body required much more oxygen than the other two, but now he didn't dare to breathe deeply, afraid of consuming too much oxygen, which would make it even harder to breathe here in a while. He could only sit on the floor, head down, reducing his movements to save energy. Jingyu felt extremely guilty now. If she hadn't insisted on inviting them to dinner, this wouldn't have happened. If any accident truly occurred, injuring them or putting them in a more dangerous situation, she would be in big trouble. They must be regretting it deeply now, regretting accepting her invitation. They were already so tired. It would have been much better to go back and rest properly. Coming out with her, they had to suffer this and be in danger. As she thought about it, Jingyu imagined them blaming her, and her eyes welled up, feeling an urge to cry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. She lowered her head, murmuring softly, her voice tinged with a sob and trembling slightly. Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran simultaneously looked up at her. Yi Mingran quickly comforted her. What are you apologizing for? It has nothing to do with you. Don't overthink it. Neither of us is taking it to heart, right? Zhou Heng nodded in agreement beside her. That's right. Jingyu knew they were comforting her and said in a low voice, but if I hadn't insisted on inviting you out to dinner, this wouldn't have happened. The elevator was bound to break down sooner or later. Don't blame yourself. It's good that we're all okay now. Zhou Heng shook his head and said lightly. Jingyu also knew they were fine for now, but who could say what would happen next second? They didn't dare to move recklessly now. If this elevator fell again, even if it was only 3 or 4 floors, it would be enough to injure them if they were unprepared. Another 20 minutes or so passed with no movement. Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran sat on the floor, leaning against each other, eyes closed, no longer wanting to say anything. Jingyu tried calling again, but there was still no signal. Frustrated, she lowered her head, hugged her knees, and sat in the corner, lost in thought. Yi Mingran noticed her state, gently patted her shoulder, and said softly, All right, don't be downcast by yourself. It's not a big deal. Let's chat for a bit. We'll be out soon. Jingyu looked up and saw Yi Mingran's gentle smile, instantly feeling much better. Every time Yi Mingran comforted her, she felt like Yi Mingran was a caring older sister, so gentle and considerate. Okay. Yi Mingran sized up Jingyu. She still hadn't figured out what Jingyu wanted to tell them. Since they couldn't go to dinner for a while, it was better to ask here. Jingyu, is there something you want to tell us? Yi Mingran slowly began, her question catching Jingyu off guard. She paused, blinked, a touch of embarrassment appearing on her face. She did have something to say, but how could she bring up such a matter directly? Asking for favors was particularly difficult, and saying it in this situation was really inappropriate. No, I just missed you all, so I wanted to invite you to dinner. Jingyu still didn't dare to say it. She knew that saying it now would be like cutting off her own retreat. It would be a bit difficult to bring it up again later. Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran exchanged a look. He frowned slightly in surprise, looked at Jingyu, and said, You probably have something you need our help with, right? If there's anything, just say it. If we can help, we definitely will. Don't be embarrassed. This. Hearing Zhou Heng say this, Jingyu hesitated for a moment. In her impression, Tang Ji and Yuling Xue both listened to Yi Mingran, while Yi Mingran listened most to Zhou Heng. So, Zhou Heng usually didn't talk much, and his words felt particularly weighty. Since even Zhou Heng had said so, Jingyu felt she probably had nothing to worry about. Actually, there's a little something. Jingyu held out her hand, making a small gesture, a faint blush on her cheeks, as if embarrassed. Yi Mingran chuckled lightly and said, Then you should have said so earlier. Honestly, do you still not consider us friends? Friends should just speak directly if there's something. Friends, Yes, we are friends. Jingyu was clearly moved by Yi Mingran's words, murmuring softly, That's right. So, just say it directly. Just as Yi Mingran finished speaking, suddenly, the elevator lurched violently, startling Zhou Heng into immediately pulling Yi Mingran into his arms. Clang! A deafening noise sounded. The elevator gradually stabilized and then slowly descended. Hey, is it fixed? Yi Mingran blinked, asking in surprise. It should be. Zhou Heng looked at the time. An hour had passed. It should have been fixed by now. They were about to suffocate in here. The elevator finally stopped steadily on the first floor. The three of them quickly stood up, waiting for the doors to open. Buzz! The elevator doors slowly opened. The three squinted, then couldn't help but be taken aback. There seemed to be a lot of people outside the elevator. Besides many elevator repair personnel, there were also many professors and students standing behind them, along with Han Wenshi and the principal of Dongji University, Yuan Heng. Both of them were frowning tightly. Only when they saw Zhou Heng and the others inside the elevator safe and sound did their brows relax. Zhou Heng and the others also saw Yuan Heng standing next to Han Wenshi at first glance, so they immediately passed through the crowd, came to Yuan Heng, and greeted him. Hello, Principal Yuan. Why are you here? Jingyu followed behind the two, and upon hearing their greeting, her eyes widened in shock. Principal! Yuan Heng's hands gently gripped Zhou Heng's shoulders, looking him up and down as if checking for injuries. Are you all okay? Do you need to go to the hospital? Yuan Heng looked very worried, repeatedly checking Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran for any injuries. Principal Yuan, we're fine. Don't worry. It's good that you're fine. Good that you're fine. If anything happened to you, I wouldn't know how to face your parents. Yuan Heng looked relieved, showing how scared he had truly been. Jingyu stood behind them, utterly astonished. It was one thing to be specially treated by someone like Professor Han, but even the principal valued these two so much. There were quite a few wealthy families at this school, but how many could be valued by the principal? He even said he wouldn't be able to face their parents. Who on earth were their parents to make the principal of Dongzhi University so nervous? Jingyu's thoughts raced. She became extremely curious about Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran's background, even suspecting if it was more powerful than Baitsong's. Firstly, to be friends with someone of Baitsong's status, they definitely weren't simple characters. The gift Baitsong gave Yi Mingran didn't seem to surprise them much, nor did they seem to value it greatly, which indirectly indicated their circumstances were no worse than Baitsong's. Or perhaps, their families weren't in business, but in politics? Could they be children of some high-ranking official? That possibility couldn't be ruled out. Yuan Heng shifted his gaze to Jingyu, who was standing to the side. He paused for a moment, then slowly said, You're that young model, right? Jingyu is it? Jingyu quickly stepped forward and replied respectfully, Yes. Yes, hello, principal. I didn't expect you to know me. You caused quite a commotion at the school gate on the first day. Of course, I know. You're very popular. Yuan Heng's words instantly made Jingyu's face turn bright red, and she lowered her head in embarrassment. She hadn't expected to be known by the principal in this way. It was too shameful. In front of these important figures, although it wasn't her fault, creating such a spectacle was indeed a bit embarrassing. I'm truly sorry. It's okay. Similar situations have happened before. Don't take it to heart. Are you friends? Yuan Heng looked at Jingyu, then at Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran beside her, and inquired. Jingyu cautiously glanced at Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran, not daring to speak. She now felt a bit hesitant to say she was their friend. Saying it in front of the principal, did it seem like she was trying to associate with people above her station? Yi Mingran glanced at Zhou Heng before speaking. Yes, we are friends. Principal Yuan nodded, saying, Good. All promising young people. Are you going out? Zhou Heng was momentarily at a loss for words. It was already around 9:30 at night. Normally, students weren't allowed out after 10, and those outside weren't allowed back in. However, because the gatekeepers all knew them, it was usually fine even if they returned a bit late. The gate would be open for them. But now, in front of the principal, they didn't dare say that. Wasn't that openly violating school rules? After hesitating for a few seconds, Zhou Heng finally said, Yes, we were originally planning to go out for dinner together, but because the elevator malfunctioned, we were delayed. Go ahead. You can come back anytime, but be sure to be safe. And about this elevator problem, I guarantee it won't happen again, you can rest assured. If you still don't feel at ease, I can also arrange other accommodations for you. Zhou Heng quickly waved his hands, saying, No, Principal Yuan, it's okay. Accidents happen, and we weren't injured or anything. No need for the trouble. It's very convenient living here. All right then. If you have any requests, feel free to tell me. I'm good friends with both your parents, so taking care of you is what I should do. Okay. Thank you, Principal Yuan. After a brief conversation, the three of them left, preparing to go to dinner as planned. Jingyu followed behind them, not daring to speak. The famous model, now, seemed like a little follower. She had heard the principal's words clearly. It was now certain that Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran's parents' identities were definitely not simple. But why couldn't she see it from their demeanor at all? They had good personalities, good tempers, and were very easy to get along with. Generally, people from such powerful families should be quite recognizable, right? So, the request she hadn't voiced in the elevator, would she still have a chance to say it? The three arrived at the restaurant Jingyu had booked in advance. There weren't many people left, and it was about to close, but Jingyu used a very effective method to get the restaurant to delay closing, by spending more money. After sitting down, Yi Mingran took off her coat, hung it on the chair behind her, and said to Jingyu opposite her, That was really scary just now. Have you recovered? I still feel a bit scared thinking about it now. I'm okay. I was indeed quite scared at the time, but luckily, nothing happened. Actually, Yi Mingran said this entirely for Jingyu's sake, just to find a topic of conversation. With Zhou Heng by her side, how could she be that scared? She felt extremely safe in Zhou Heng's arms. She was only a little scared when the malfunction first occurred. Afterwards, she wasn't scared at all. After chatting for a couple more sentences, Yimin Gran felt it was about time. Jing, you should be able to relax a bit more. So, she smiled and asked her, all right, now you can say what you didn't say earlier. What do you need our help with? Zhou Heng also put down his phone and looked at Jingyu, listening intently. Jingyu lowered her head slightly, as if thinking about how to bring this up. She knew she only had one chance and had to grasp it well. What she said couldn't be too outrageous, or there would be no hope. At the same time, she also had to express her request earnestly. She didn't want to keep them waiting too long, so after thinking for a moment, she said, actually, it's about my work. I'm a bit embarrassed to bring this up with you. About work, huh? Then tell us about it. We might not be able to help, but we'll definitely help you think of a solution. Yimin Gran glanced at Zhou Heng. She had thought it would be a simple topic, but unexpectedly, it was such a serious one. Her work? Isn't she a model? What kind of help could they offer? It's like this. My company recently signed me up for an event, a very important one, but the spots are limited. The company wants me to secure this spot, so I'm a bit worried, not knowing what to do. Zhou Heng frowned in surprise and asked, What kind of event? Aren't you very popular? Does such a famous star even need to consider this? Is the event organizer not very smart? This event is organized by Juinho. I do have some popularity, it's true, but my style doesn't seem to fit their event this time. So I'm only within their consideration range. To secure the spot, I still need to work hard. Juinho. Upon hearing this, Zhou Heng and Yimin Gran immediately lowered their heads, looking helpless, especially Zhou Heng. He had just cursed the event organizer for not being smart, only to find out he was cursing his own family. Miss, so the effort you're thinking of is to pull some strings? Is that it? Zhou Heng sat up, crossed his hands, and asked lightly. I'm embarrassed to say, but yes, I had that thought. But I don't have those kinds of connections. I heard Juinheng is very strict internally. Things like pulling strings should be very unrealistic, right? Those connections would have to be incredibly strong. Understand that. About this event, do you have a specific announcement? Let me take a look. Zhou Heng nodded. He suddenly realized he had no idea what event Juinheng was holding. He had been busy studying and hadn't paid any attention to Juinheng's affairs. I do. Jingyu quickly took out her phone, searched for a moment, then found something and handed the phone over for Zhou Heng and the others to see. Zhou Heng glanced at it and muttered, So it's to promote a new game, huh? This game has high expectations, no wonder. This is indeed a good opportunity to gain popularity. After reading it, Zhou Heng returned the phone and asked then, You just said your style doesn't fit this event. What's the situation? They need models this time to cosplay a game character. It's this one. Jingyu found another picture and handed it to them. Zhou Heng and Yimin Gran leaned in for a look, and their eyes instantly widened, unable to hide the surprise in their gazes. This game character was truly rather eye-catching. Only 2 words could describe it: sexy and alluring. It seemed, indeed, not quite suitable for Jingyu. It felt like Jingyu leaned a bit more towards cute, and it was hard to imagine her cosplaying this character. I understand. This matter of yours, indeed, isn't easy to handle. Zhou Heng now just wanted to take back what he had just said. It seemed the event organizer did have a brain after all. This character really didn't seem right for Jingyu. Jingyu had her own characteristics, but those characteristics weren't suitable for display now. I also know it's not easy to handle. Originally, I was planning to give up, not to fight for this opportunity. But I can't go against the company's decision. Jingyu lowered her head, looking very dejected and disappointed. She was fully aware of her weaknesses, but was constrained by circumstances. That's why she longed so much to become strong herself, strong enough to control her own freedom, without needing to be restricted. Zhou Heng tapped his fingers on the table, as if seriously contemplating something. Jingyu felt like she was sitting on pins and needles, extremely nervous. She didn't know what Zhou Heng was thinking, but she felt it concerned her fate. About this matter of yours, I can help. Ray, really? Jingyu's eyes instantly lit up. She looked up at Zhou Heng, her face full of surprise and disbelief. Yes, really, but it's not easy, and there are corresponding conditions for me to help you. Of course, if it doesn't work out in the end, then the conditions naturally don't count. Zhou Heng spread his hands and said softly, speaking very cautiously, without making any guarantees, because if he wanted to help, he could only call his only contact at Juinheng, his old man. He really couldn't guarantee if he could help then. Of course, that's how it should be. What are the conditions? Jingyu was very happy now, eagerly asking Zhou Heng what conditions he needed. She had originally thought the task her company assigned her was almost impossible to complete, but in just one day, she saw hope. Zhou Heng was a bit troubled at this moment. To be honest, he hadn't thought of any conditions. So, he looked at Yin Min Gran beside him with a pleading gaze. Yin Min Gran hadn't spoken until Zhou Heng looked at her. Only then did she nod slightly, then leaned close to Zhou Heng's ear and whispered something. Hearing it, Zhou Heng frowned slightly and muttered, "Will she agree to this? If not, then forget it. I think there should be this sincerity, right? We can't be at a disadvantage." "That's true." Zhou Heng nodded. Jingyu didn't hear the content of their conversation. Then, Zhou Heng turned his head, looked at Jingyu, and said, "I can do my best to help you get the spot for this event. No matter how, you will receive the remuneration for this event, as well as all the benefits it brings you. But in return, you will have to be Juinheng's free spokesperson in the future. For any event, big or small, if they need you, you have to attend. If you can accept this condition, I'll help you." After hearing Zhou Heng's words, Jingyu was completely stunned, her mind mulling it over for a good while. Listening to Zhou Heng, did it mean he wanted to sell her to Juinheng? Was that it? I don't think I can make that decision. I need to ask the company. Jingyu didn't know how to answer for a moment, her tongue feeling tied, stammering. "Of course, you definitely need to consult them. I don't mean anything else, but if I may be so bold as to ask, what are the chances of getting the spot? So I can report back to the company." Zhou Heng blinked, thought for a moment, then said, "How big the chances are, I can't tell you that. But I can tell you for sure that there probably isn't anyone who has better connections than I do.